All right, it's that time once again, a lovely Wednesday afternoon here at Awesemo.com, and that means it's locks before lock. 11-game NBA slate, a lot to get to. Setting the table for you guys with our full blog of content, DFS, live before lock, and here with betting. To do that, bringing my good friend Matt Savoca, ready to break down 11 games. We've got the Knicks. Last time I did the show with you, you went to the Knicks game. I assume you're not hopping a plane to Charlotte tonight to catch our boys, right?
Well, you would be correct there. Yes,
Okay.
not going to Charlotte, not living that kind of life. But I got to commend you, bud. You were just talking about college basketball just a few moments ago, and now you're hopping over here talking about NBA stuff. Way to go, man. I got to commend you. Always great with multiple sports, college, pros, doesn't matter. You're great with the content. Happy to be digging into this one. And there's some interesting matchups here, but really the injuries are probably the most important part here. We're getting more clarity as we get closer to tip off.
Absolutely. And that's where we can take advantage in the prop market using Odd Chopper to guide us, oddchopper.com. All the projections and the tools, it's synced right up. It shows you that value. No doubt about it. I don't even have golf. Normally I do a golf show right after this, but I don't have that tonight because the tournament started. So I am laser focused. Let's dive in. It's good to see everyone in chat. You guys know the drill. If you want to support us, hit that like button. Hit us with those questions. Knicks 7.5 point underdogs in Charlotte, 225.5 total. Julius Randle looks like the wrong side of questionable. It seems like he's not going to play. So let's start there. What does that do to the domino effect of the other guys on the Knicks? Are you looking at a side, or are you looking to attack some props of these other guys?
Yeah, I think we got Obi Toppin's probably going to play a whole lot of minutes here. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson's going to have a huge role. And ultimately, it's just going to be one of those positions that's rotational for the Knicks. But if someone has a hot hand, I'm sure that Thibodeau wouldn't mind playing him 30, 35 minutes. Toppin is probably the first bet for me there. I'm going to take a prop here. It's actually Mason Plumlee under 8.5 rebounds on the other side here for Charlotte. Over the last 10 games, Plumlee's at 6.6 points, 3.2 assists, and 8 rebounds, just 8.0 rebounds in 25 minutes of play. And the Knicks have actually been solid defensively. Now, obviously, that's with Randle. Over their last 10 games, that same span, they're second in defensive rating and 7th in the NBA in net rating. Now, I don't think that's actually indicative of how good they are at defense or just as a team in general, but they are kind of playing above expectations. So I don't think this is a particularly great matchup, even if Randle sits here for Plumlee. He's at just 8.1 rebounds per game. If you look at the last month, hits this prop under 50% of the time. And we've got him at about 6.7 rebounds as a median projection. This is an expected win rate of 76% and expected ROI of 39%. That's a really solid bet to start our day.
Definitely a good one. I've seen that floating around from a lot of our experts in Premium Discord as well. I'm going to swing for the fences a little early, nothing too crazy, but I'm going to give a shout out to Alec Burks. Over 2.5 3-pointers at plus 155. So you're getting some plus money, obviously a dog to hit, but he's going to have the green light. He's taken 8 and 7 in the last 2 games. He's hit 3 in both. I can live with that. I think we're going to get volume here. You mentioned, obviously people are going to have to step up for Randle and the usage should be dispersed. It seems like he'll have a green light. 35 plus minutes seems doable. If the game stays close, I could see that going over. And again, plus 155 is good enough for me there. Not taking a side, not taking a total. Next game up, we've got the Hawks, 4-point favorites in Detroit, 226.5. So this is expected to stay a little closer. Where are you looking in this? Another matchup of East Coast teams.
Yeah, this is one you're going to see a little bit of a theme. Sometimes those themes emerge, especially when you got an 11-game slate and you're picking all these props. Trae Young, under 10.5 assists. I still think Trae's going to have a great game here against Detroit. It's not like Detroit is good defensively here. Over the last 10 games, we've seen Trae Young over 28 points a game, 3.8 rebounds, but most importantly here, 9.5 assists per game in 35 minutes of play. Over the last month, he's even pushed that usage to 37 minutes per game, but he still hasn't seen the assists hit nearly that 10.5 line we're looking at today. He's up at around 10.2. To his credit, he's hit the over in just over 50% of his games over the last month. Detroit, to their credit, though, has been a little bit better defensively. They're 13th over their last 10 games in defensive rating. In terms of projections, we've got him at just 9.2 assists, so kind of on the conservative side in 35 and a half minutes of play. So we're not conservative in terms of playing time. This is an expected win rate of 62%, and at minus 112 last I looked, that's an implied win probability by the books at 53%. So it's a really solid XROI around 15 to 20 right now.
Yeah, you carve out those edges, and it's true. 11 games, we can be very selective, of course. You don't need to force anything. I will give a quick shout out to something that before we really built these tools, I never even thought about betting, but props with steals and blocks is something that if your book offers it, there can be some edges. And DeAndre Hunter's block prop is just at over under 0.5. You're getting 2-1 if you think he records a block tonight. And we have him as a coin flip to do just that. So when you're getting a 50% in terms of a potential outcome and you're getting 2-1, that's going to be value every day of the week. Again, not a prop that I always put towards the top of my card, but you also can't just omit them. And Odd Chopper, you can sort right by those block props. It makes it very easy to identify them. So I did want to give them a quick shout out.
One thing to add there too, Ben, you sometimes have to do a little bit translating. Like if you're using like the single game parlay tool, sometimes with those tertiary players, we have really high expected ROI on, over 1.5 blocks, something like that. You might need to translate that and tap 1+ blocks when you're talking about a single game parlay. So it might not be juiced the exact same way, but we can use those values to create parlay tickets the exact same way.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are multiple ways. Yeah, exactly. More than one or more, that's going to be over 0.5, same type of thing. And sometimes it is slightly different, the verbiage and even the line, which is kind of crazy to think about. But keep an eye on that. All right, the next game, you alluded, we're starting to get some clarity, and certainly the fellas coming up after us, I guarantee, should have more information and talk about this from a DFS standpoint. You've got the Kings and you've got the Pacers. Sacramento 6.5-point dogs in Indy, 235.5-point total. All right. What is the status of Halliburton and Fox, and what do you do with a game like this where there's a lot of question marks?
This is really tough. And honestly, this is one of those situations where if you just can't get a reading of the tea leaves by the time tip-off comes around, just don't bet it. But just looking back, these are those two teams that traded at the deadline, and now it looks like these players are kind of falling apart as we reach the finish line here. Reports that De'Aaron Fox may miss the entire rest of the season. He's listed as doubtful. I certainly don't think he's going to play here. I kind of lean that Halliburton is not going to play here, but I don't have as good a read on that. In terms of props that I'm going for in this one, I actually want to look at Trey Lyles, who should get more playing time here, but I still think an under for him. 7.5 rebounds is the under I want to focus on. The Pacers have a 70% win probability tonight. That's probably being generous to Sacramento on the road. Over the last 10 games, Lyle has had 10.2 points, about 5 rebounds a game. So I don't think he's getting all the way up to 7 to 8 rebounds, really. You need 8 to get there. Over the last month, he's pushed it a little bit compared to his last 10. He's up at 6 rebounds a game instead of 5, but it really has only hit 33% of the time during that same span. I'm sticking with basically his average here. We got him projected at 6.9 rebounds. So even we're being a little bit bullish, he's still not getting to that 7.5 line, an expected win percentage of 61% and an expected ROI north of 20.
Yeah, again, this is one of the big things about this show and why we do it is to talk about the difference between betting and what we do on the Odd Shopper YouTube and DFS. In DFS, you are forced to deal with this. You have to figure out if these guys sit, who's the value and whatnot. I think from a betting standpoint, you should tread pretty cautiously. I have no problem attacking the front court as you just did, but for me, this is mostly a pass. I don't really want to play the injury roulette and see what goes on here. You can just omit it from your card. No harm loss. You can always pass in betting. You don't have that luxury in DFS. So for me, I'm going to stay away completely here. And we will see. Look at that in chat. Landon, big time score last night, 14th for a nice payday in the $4 DK tournament. We love to see that. Obviously, whether it's betting or DFS, that is good stuff. Let's keep it rolling. All right, 3 down, plenty more to go. My boys, the Utah Jazz, tough spot. 5-point dogs in Boston, who was just destroying teams, 215.5. So one of the more methodical totals. It's hard to go short Boston right now. They're just playing fantastic. Al Horford had more than 2.5 assists before I could blink in his last game. He only took a shot, but he's a guy that's going to be obviously a pretty, a prop that we want to look at. And what else do you see here? And what could be a very competitive matchup?
I'm going to Al Horford assists, baby. How did you know? We didn't talk about that at all. Obviously, compared to his last 10 games in the last month, he's actually pushed his playing time up as well. He's up near about 32 minutes per game, where he was down around 28, 29 minutes per game. Has pushed his rebounding, kind of kept his scoring right where it was, but his assists staying nice and steady despite that extra playing time. Under 3.5 assists. We got him projected at 2.3, so it would be razor thin if the line was 2.5. That 3.5 gives us a little breathing room. It's actually an expected win percentage of around 80% when I was making notes for the show. Might have changed a little bit right before the show, but still an XROI over 30 on this one. Horford is not known for his assists. We're going under 3.5.
Yeah, there you go. And again, it's just incredible. And that's what I love about these tools of game to game, the deviations, because, in the last game against OKC, everything was advocating for a strong overplay with Al Horford. And now a lot of the metrics have really flipped. And of course, with matchups and even the line itself at minus 145, we have him coming in safely under this number. The personnel was much different in that game. The rotation was much different. So I think you need to make sure you're not just box score hunting and saying, oh, he had 7 assists in the last game. It's only 3.5. This is an easy over. Not so fast, my friend. Lee Corso style. Don't see anything else here. I'm not taking a side. This is a tough game. I do think Boston wins it. Not really looking to lay 5 points, though.
I agree. I completely agree, actually. I think Boston has a blowout in their range of outcomes. I don't think that's likely. Utah does not have that in their range of outcomes. Utah smashing is like very, very low probability. I'm not.
I agree with that. I just think there's a lot of scenarios where Utah hangs and they end up losing the game, but they're down 4 with a minute left, and that's a toss-up type of outcome when you're getting that many points. Even more competitive game, Brooklyn, 1.5 point favorite. This line has bounced around looking at Odd Shopper all day. Going into Memphis, 237.5, over a 20-point difference from the game we just talked about. So does that lean you to more overs? I want to say that Andre Drummond's rebounding prop stood out immediately when I went to Odd Shopper today. Is that one that you're looking at, or are there others?
That's the one for me. I was looking earlier the day. Kyrie Irving had a line of 5.0 assists. That was over on Prize Picks. I'm not sure that's the exact same line if you're looking at the books. You're trying to make a parlay here, but this Drummond line looks really, really good to me. So good that I'm not passing it up. An expected win rate of 87%, Ben. Trust the math. That's a trust the math situation. It's almost like you ignore the player, you ignore the stat we're talking about. Not saying the matchup isn't important. I'm just saying once our tools tell us it's this much of a go and the expected ROI is near 30%. Come on, man. Let's just take it. Let's add it to our card.
Easy decision long term. Whether he has 1 rebound tonight or 20, I can tell you confidently long term, when you get metrics like this is a buy. And I will give a quick shout out. If you're looking for betting content and you want to get with Alex and Steve Buzzard and the guys behind the scenes and get their full betting card, as Matt talks about on the show, it's not just about looking at the tool. It's the context of it and seeing how they finalize their card. That is part of our premium betting package, which you can sign up for with the link in the description of this video. And I'll give people a freebie today. Andre Drummond over is on that card. I have seen Alex's card today. He likes that prop. I like that prop. Matt likes that prop. I think it's one of the easiest ones we have on the day. No guarantees in the NBA, but you're not going to find better spots than that. Other than that in this game, though, I really don't have a ton to say on the Memphis side. I looked at Steven Adams. I looked at Dillon Brooks. They seem fine, but I didn't really feel the need to add them to the card.
Yeah, Dillon Brooks over 2.5 assists looks pretty good in our tools. It's at plus odds, plus 120, which is like implying a probability that the over hits 45% of the time. We have an expected win rate around 58% with an XROI around 27%. So if you're trying to build out a single game parlay, maybe you go there on the Memphis side. But as you said, the Drummond one sticks out more than any other.
Yeah, Memphis is a good team for single game parlays because they play at that pace. When you're nearing 240 totals, you can take 3 or 4 guys with overs and they can coexist. Utah and Boston, maybe not the best game for something like that if you're just going blindly over. So keep that in mind. Entertaining game. I do want to catch some of that tonight with no college basketball till tomorrow for me. Golden State, 10.5 point dogs in Miami, 209 total. So again, another one on the lower side of things. That doesn't mean that we can't potentially find some value in the prop market. Looking at this game, Jordan Poole popped up immediately. Is that a guy you're looking to short? Most of the props are on the Warriors side with Miami having, some unknowns with Hero and whatnot.
Yeah, as you said, two of the top 3 expected ROI bets, the 3 bets that are expected ROI of 30 plus are unders for Jordan Poole. Under 24.5 was the one I was going to highlight. Technically, in terms of expected ROI, the higher one is under 4.5 3-pointers. I mean, this isn't Steph Curry. I mean, he has had 20 points in 10 straight games. I mean, give him credit. One kind of off the wall bet I was kind of looking at that is just, again, you're chasing value. This is an expected win percentage of just 27%, but Golden State money line is kind of a wild bet with a solid X ROI for us. There are crazier things that I've seen in the NBA. I don't think that's the most likely outcome, but again, if you're value hunting, you don't mind taking a loss at plus 400 last I saw it. I'm fine.
You're taking a little money too. I will say, looking at Odd Chopper across the books, down to plus 370. So you're not the only one that thinks that they have a chance to hang in the game. And your break even point on a bet like that is so low that you're not asking to cash it 50% of the time. You can clean value there if you can catch one of those numbers. And you mentioned Poole, obviously Clay not playing. So I get it. I still think that number on him, as you pointed out, that's a lot of points. I think it is a pretty easy under, even if you do think they hang in the game.
Yep, agree. And we just got the ruling from producer Tyler. Julius Randle for the Knicks officially ruled out. We kind of felt it was leaning
Mitchell Robinson is out.
Oh, well. Really?
Okay.
Alrighty,
So we're just setting the table, man. I not that you would ever leave the stream after we're off, but Alex Baker and Ship My Money are coming up next, and they will have you covered. Thank God I will be watching because there's going to be some major value there. Again, for me, I'm telling you, Alec Burks 3-pointers, baby. Over 2.5 plus 155. Put it on the board. That's going to be a very, very interesting. Smash that 7.5 before it moved. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way to do it, friends. Phoenix, 1-point favorite in Minnesota, 238.5 total. Maybe a potential playoff matchup that we could see in a couple weeks or so. Minnesota hanging in there, and obviously Phoenix is going to be that top seed. What do you do here? Booker, Townsport, and Q-Tag, Edwards, Ayton, a lot of big names. What stands out?
Yeah, I think Towns is going to play. I think everyone's going to be in there. Obviously, Campaign was out earlier this week, now not listed on the injury report, and we've got a couple of Campaign bets that look really interesting in terms of expected ROI. The one that I'm really looking at and going for is over 3.5 rebounds. Over 14.5 points is in the same ballpark in terms of value. Over the last 10 games for Payne, he's got just about 3 rebounds per game, but over the last month, he's pushed that to a 4.0 average, and that's why we're seeing this line look kind of inefficient here. We got him projected for nearly 4.5 rebounds in this game against Minnesota. Obviously, Minnesota has been really, really strong. First in defensive rating over their last 10 games. First in net rating. Do I think they're the best team in the NBA? No, no one does. But Minnesota is really, really strong. That said, I think Campaign gets over 3.5 rebounds pretty easily here. An expected win rate over 60% right now.
Yeah, and again, despite some of those metrics, this is still a very healthy total. So there's going to be a lot of possessions, a lot of opportunities for boards, assists. And when you look at it, another same game parlay candidate, in my opinion, when you've got Campaign, you've got Booker, you can go over on several different stat categories with these guys and link them up if you want that high upside multiplier. No take from me on who wins this game. If I had to make a pick, it would be Minnesota, but I think that spread is just on as a pseudo pick 'em.
I agree. Not touching it though.
I want to see it though. This could be, I would love to see this as a matchup. Maybe after they survive the potential play-in tournament against Braun and maybe a healthy Clippers team. You never know. All right. Magic. Another competitive spread. We've got a lot of games that are, 1 point, 2 point spreads, and this is one of them. Not the best teams though. Magic 1.5 point favorite in OKC, 221.5. Team on a back-to-back. Always some of these guys have been prevalent in the prop world all year when you want to talk about a guy like Cole Anthony or Suggs or whatnot. But what are you drawn to here in this one?
All right, we got to slow this down because it's really bad when Oklahoma City, a 20-52 team, missing their second best player, and they have Shea, who's their best player, a game time decision, is favored and has a 62% win probability here. These teams are combined 40-95. That's a 296 win percentage. Wendell Carter's game time decision for the Magic, who are 30th in defensive rating over their last 10 games. Oklahoma City, an incredible 28th in defensive rating during that same span. I'm going under 221.5. I am going all in on bad basketball. Now, in terms of totals bets, we do see kind of lower expected ROIs compared to individual prop bets, but this is the highest expected ROI of any of our totals bet. Under 221.5 hits over 55% of the time, and you're getting it at like minus 112, which is essentially a coin flip in terms of odds.
I'll do one better. I'll get you 222 out there. You can find one. Go to Odd Shopper, shop those odds. One just moved. Under 222 at minus 110. And you would think, oh, it's not a big deal. It absolutely is. Those half points add up over and over. And that's a good find by you. You mentioned bad basketball. This is a game too. If it happens to get off to a quick start, it's a good time to cost average down. You could find this around 230 if they have a quick start in this game and they're shooting, at an unsustainable rate. We have to see the status on some of these guys. That's why a lot of the props are off the board. So nothing to really say there. But if you want to make a play on that total, shop it and find 222 and then short it or hit it live. I think both are ample opportunities. 3 games left. Houston, Dallas. Houston's 10.5 point dogs on the road, 220 total. Another bad team, but they're playing a pretty good team. I don't think this stays close. Every time I say that, then you come out with a potential, you smell an upset. I don't know if that's what you're going to say here, though. Is it?
No,
okay, thank God. I was going to say, I really don't see it here.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I do have a prop that kind of sticks out to me, but it is an under for Dallas, who, as you said, I expect to take care of business, no problem, as the spread implies. Reggie Bullock under 1.5 assists over his last 10 games. He's barely over 1 assist per game in 27 minutes, but over the last month, he's had his playing time pushed to nearly 36 minutes per game. Those assist totals really aren't coming up. They're like at 1.6, 1.7 assists per game. He's at the just over 50% of the time. The Awesemo odds have this way lower in terms of projection today at just, 1.4 assists. I know it seems razor thin, but then you look at the expected win percentage of over 50%. I guess there are better bets in terms of XROI that we talked about today, but right now we're seeing this as up over 25%. It's fine. Under 1.5 is just a raw number, kind of scares me for a player playing this much, but still the math looks pretty decent here.
I'm actually going to go to a bet that I rarely make, but I like the Mavericks in the first half specifically, laying 5.5 points here. I just think this is one that they start fast and at halftime, they have a pretty comfortable lead. Very strong in the division. They've dominated. They're 12-2 in that division, 24-12 at home. The Rockets are 7-29 on the road. It's just not a good spot for them. And finding 5.5 for a first half line, I feel better about that. I'm not saying they can't cover the 10.5, but I think this one, they start pretty quickly and put it to them by halftime. So take a look at that. All right, 10th game. This spread has moved a little bit naturally because right before the show, it took many people to confirm, but LeBron James, in fact, will not be there. And that makes the Lakers near a 10-point dog in some spots. Some of the props haven't even reacted. What do we do now? Again, from the DFS side, there's a lot to talk about, but is there a lot to talk about from the betting side?
Well, first of all, the Lakers, in terms of defensive abilities, were one of the worst teams in the NBA with LeBron, who, as an individual, is very strong defensively, obviously. They were 27th in the NBA in defensive rating over their last 10 games. They're going to be competing for the worst defense in the league any given night without LeBron on the floor. It's that simple. Can they still win this game? In a small number of samples in our simulation, that's possible. But we're talking about Philadelphia with a huge, huge win probability here. I think, I'm not really seeing anything in this game that really, really sticks out at this point. At the same time, I do think Harden under 10.5 assists is one of those that just looks fundamentally too high for me. I know he's been a playmaker really since joining the team over the last month. He's actually hit the over 64% of the time and been right at 10.5 assists per game in the last month. But I think we're still looking at a little bit production regression. He started absolutely red hot when he got traded, and we're kind of seeing in the Awesemo projections, it's sort of tempered a little bit, even though the matchup looks really strong. I know it can be scary, but we're just looking at 9.1, 9.2 assists as a median projection for Harden here, an expected win rate at 70% on the under.
Yeah, this is one I don't mind taking a play with someone like that on Philly. I don't really want to mess around with the Lakers. I foolishly backed Cleveland against them, and chat reminded me, when you've got LeBron, anything can happen, and that is very true. Well, they don't have him tonight, and I'm not sure anything can happen without him there, so I'm not messing around with this game from that regard. All right, the final game, and I will one more time just ask, hit that like button if you enjoy what you're seeing, you like this betting content. You can find plenty more on the Odd Chopper YouTube, and get into our Discord, even if it's just for the week. You sign up, you see Alex and Steve's cards each and every day, my betting card as well. You get in the community, you meet some good people, some sharp people, talk about the games. They're doing a fantastic job of taking what you see on the screen at Odd Chopper and drilling it down to actually build their betting cards. Alex is putting Robin parlays in there for big time money, potentially, if one of those hits. Just a really fun time. And of course, definitely an edge to be had. But the last game is the Spurs 9-point favorites in Portland. Lifeless Blazers, 231.5. The floor is yours.
The lifeless Blazers.
They're so bad.
They're not putting anyone on the floor. At least they put us out of our misery. We know Damian Lillard's not coming back this season. I'm going Devin Vassell over 4.5 rebounds, and we're seeing a lot of these plays here. We're picking overs for players who over their last month have only hit this prop line, the over, I should say, about 40 to 45%, or vice versa. The under on players who've gone over a certain prop line, 50 to 55%. We carve out value that way using the Awesemo projections, and it's the same for Vassell, who's hit the over here 45% of the time over the last month, but we have an expected win percentage of 60% today because of the matchup. Portland in defensive rating, competing with Orlando, Oklahoma City, and the Lakers for worst defense in the league, 29th in the NBA over their last 10 games. Yeah, I think the Spurs take care of business. I think this line is too low. We've got them projected up near 5.5 rebounds on 33 minutes of playing time. This is an XROI over 20%. Probably, we didn't do stars today, but I think this is like a 3 or a 4-star bet, an easy win.
Perfect capper to end what is a good 11-game slate. Again, plenty of injury news is about to break, and that's why you don't want to go anywhere. Alex, ship my money, and the whole crew leading you up until lock. They've got you covered. For Tyler behind the glass, for myself, and for Matt, thanks for hanging out with us, talking some betting. You got any questions, you hit us up on Twitter or in Discord. We're going to bounce on out of here. Again, the fellas coming up next. Good luck tonight. Enjoy the 11-game slate. We will talk to you guys soon.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by Prize Picks. Got a nice 11-game slate tonight, so it should be a good one. We got the perfect guy here to help us break all these games down. Adam, should my money share? Adam, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty well. Looking forward to this slate. We're getting, I think, kind of our first taste of true March NBA with a bunch of guys getting ruled out. But I think it should be pretty fun because, like, this morning, it kind of seemed like it was going to be an annoying slate because even though it's 11 games, you had a few spots that were just so obvious that ownership was going to be really concentrated. But since then, we've gotten more news, more good value. So I think it's going to be a really high-scoring night, but a night where you can find there's just an abundance of good plays.
Nice, man. I'm going to need your help finding some good plays here. I saw like a bunch of people posting about how there's some monster plays, but I'm like Damian Jones, Obi Toppin. Are these really the plays that everyone is super stoked for? So we'll find out over this next hour. But as far as late swap, are you seeing anything on this slate? Because there are some questionable players still.
Nothing that I'm too concerned about. I mean, we only have 2 games at 10 o'clock. Nothing that stands out. Like Harden and Embiid, neither one are on the injury report. We already got that LeBron is out. We know Davis is out. We know everybody on Portland is out. So, nothing. As far as I think as far as late news, the biggest question mark we have is Karl Anthony Towns, but even that's only an hour after lock.
Nice. Yeah, that would be a big one. Tyrese Halliburton, maybe.
Yeah, but that's the first game of the night.
Oh, that's the first game. Okay. Well, that's not as exciting then. But we'll have that news for you over this next couple hours. So we'll break it down all live. Guys, before we get going to the game by game, give us a like and subscribe. And also, we got a ton of free content on the site today. The NBA player projections are free, so you can use that to find out all our top plays. NHL ownership projections, the PGA Top Golfers tool, which is updated for the Punta Cana Championship tomorrow. Of course, we did the match play as well. And then make sure to check out our podcast channel, where you can catch all of our non-live before lock shows. Let's go in the first game here. Atlanta at Detroit. Atlanta 4.5-point favorite. Now, this is one of the key injuries of tonight is Danilo Gallinari was ruled out for this one. He's been getting a lot of minutes because John Collins has been out. So now they're really short on bigs. Basically, they got 2 centers. I guess they got Jalen Johnson, who hasn't played at all. So how do you see the Hawks filling this gap in the power forward position?
Yeah, so I think you're going to see either DeLon Wright start and Herder and Hunter move down a position, or they could also go with Luau Cabarro, who is 3K flat, not a very good point per minute fantasy producer. So if Bogdanovic is in, I don't really think it opens too much up because DeLon Wright's salary has already come up to $4,800 on this particular slate. Even if he starts at, and plays alongside Trae Young, I think he becomes a secondary play at best. And then Luau Cabarro, kind of the same thing. Like if he starts, you're probably talking 24, 26 minutes, just not really the type of slate where I think getting 20 fantasy points from TLC is likely to do a whole lot for you. But if Bogdanovic is ruled out, this team is actually pretty shorthanded because, like you said, you have Jalen Johnson, you have Kevin Knox. Neither of these are, rotational NBA players. And Lou Williams is out. There would be a pretty good chance that you get substantial minutes from DeLon Wright and TLC. But more so, you would just expect to get a lot of run from Kevin Herter, DeAndre Hunter. And both of those guys we know can produce at a high enough level.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like they're going to go small quite a bit in this game. Now, one of the things people are going to be looking for is if Bogdanovic gets a start because he's been coming off the bench. It sounds like you're thinking they continue to bring him off the bench here.
Yeah, I think so. They had Gallinari out recently, and typically this year they've brought Bogdanovic off the bench when they can. Not to say there's a 0% chance, and if he starts, it would certainly be a good sign for his minutes. But one way or the other, I think if he plays, he's playing pretty healthy minutes here. The biggest issue I have with Atlanta is just that, and this is even if Bogdanovic is out, it makes guys like Herter, Hunter look, pretty good. It makes Wright and TLC look better. But just in the context of the entire slate, I don't know that any of those guys still end up looking like true priorities.
Agreed. Yeah, no one's really above 5 points per dollar except Trae Young in our projections. Although on FanDuel, Kevin Huerter is only 4,400. That seems egregiously low, and he stands to get some more minutes here. So he'd be my top play on FanDuel. Are any of the guys popping on FanDuel for you?
I agree with you on Huerter there. And yeah, like even even on DraftKings, it's not that they're bad plays. It's just that they're guys that you're going to be using more so as like last piece in, a way to be contrarian that still has a path to success, than, you know, pointing to like Herder or Hunter and saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to play them over Davion Mitchell in all my lineups or something like that. I do think Trae Young looks very good as well, and he is impacted by Bogdanovic too. We know that Young's usage goes up without John Collins, but his fantasy production also increases when you take Bogdanovic off. It just becomes basically a team where Young's obviously going to dominate the usage one way or another, but if Bogdanovic isn't playing, he's really the entire offense.
Definitely. On the Detroit side, and I will mention this should be a pretty good like game environment for fantasy scoring with these two teams. On Detroit, Isaiah Livers is doubtful. Luka Garza and Saban Lee are back with the G League, it looks like. So this is opening up some minutes. Corey Joseph is back this game though. So I guess no one's really popping out a ton because of the price tags, but are you seeing anything on Detroit?
I think it's one of the less appealing teams on the slate. There's not much ownership going to Detroit, which, you know, is fine. But on an 11-game slate, what typically is going to happen, especially on a slate like this, where you do have so many plays that are going to project really well and really pop up in optimizers, what's going to happen is that you can just look to kind of like your second or third favorite play at a position and say like, okay, cool, that guy's going to be like 6% owned, I'll go there. You don't have to go all the way down and say, oh, this guy's 1% owned, even though he's a low probability play, like I'll take my chances. So I just don't have a lot of interest in Detroit. It's not that you're wrong for getting to like a little bit of Cade Cunningham or Jeremy Grant or whatever, but I view it the same way as our ownership projections. Like 6% going to Cunningham, 2% to Grant, 1% to Bay, nobody else even at that level. That's how I view Detroit basically as well.
Yeah, it hurts, but I think you're right. So maybe find some bets in that game. DFS not great on the Detroit side. Now, on next game, Sacramento at Indiana, I think this one is more interesting. De'Aaron Fox is a doubtful for this one, and you have Sabonis, he's out as well. I think he's out 5 games or something, and Rashawn Holmes is out for the rest of the year. So I think I might have missed the slate or something, but the last time that Sabonis and Holmes were out, it was Alex Len that got a start. But then Damian Jones played most of the minutes. Is that how you remember it?
Yeah, I remember being at the bar, global swapping Damian Jones to Alex Len, and then Alex Len playing like 6 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, okay, Indiana, their centers are Isaiah Jackson, who's questionable, and Goga Batadze. So these are more of, I guess, Isaiah Jackson. I can't remember. Can he shoot the 3? So like these are big guys. So I wouldn't see Sacramento going small at center this game, but I don't know. Like, do you see Damian Jones getting a start here? Do you see Alex Len getting a start, or like are they going to do something else?
I'm expecting it to be Jones just because the last game went so weird. Like I think if I remember right, Jones even started the second half in that game, the last one that Sabonis was out, and then we know that he's been the primary backup to Sabonis. So until we hear otherwise, I'm assuming that Damian Jones is starting.
So then there is some room for other guys on this team to get some minutes with Sabonis out. If you assume that Alex Len and Damian Jones don't get all 48 minutes at center, because that means you're going to get some Lyles or Metu at center. So do you see that as a significant factor tonight? Because if it is, maybe there's some value here, but what do you think?
I don't expect it to be too many minutes. I mean, maybe you get like, 26 for Jones, 14 or 16 for Len, the rest go to like Metu or something. But I do expect Jones to get the bulk of the minutes, to get into the upper 20s, and for him to look like a really good value at this price tag. Len, I think, is a lot riskier. even if he starts, obviously he's risky, but if he comes off the bench, it is a situation where he's 3K flat. If something happens and he plays 22 minutes, he's probably going to be a good value. And he's obviously going to be much, much lower owned than Damian Jones if Jones is starting. But at only a $700 price difference, it's still going to be pretty tough for me to get away from Jones. I do think that you can take shots, though, on Chimezie Metu at 3,400, at Jeremy Lamb at 3,300, because we still just don't know exactly how this rotation is going to work. And even looking back at the last game where Sabonis played and Fox didn't, you still got 20 minutes from Metu. You got 15 and a half from Lamb. If you assume that, even if Metu holds around 20 minutes at 3,400, he's going to look okay. And he could certainly play a couple more minutes than that. If Jeremy Lamb, even picks up 5 minutes and gets up to 20 minutes at 3,300, he's going to look okay. So not saying that you prioritize those guys to the same extent that you would Damian Jones, but they are still cheap value pieces that you can use in tournaments.
Definitely. No, I think Damian Jones is the guy that everyone is gravitating towards today in our ownership. He's at 32.8%. And we have him at a 55% chance of getting 5x plus 10 value on DraftKings. On FanDuel, quite a bit more expensive, but still good play. Are you going to eat the chalk here?
On Mitchell?
On Damian Jones.
Oh, on Jones. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, as long as he's starting, I really like Damian Jones.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of value on this team, though. So Barnes, he's showing up as positive value. Justin Holiday, really saw his minutes cut last game. Maybe you can share some insight there. But yeah,
foul trouble.
Okay, foul trouble. Davion Mitchell played an absurd amount of minutes in the last game. 41. Do you think that was mostly because of foul trouble to Justin Holiday, or do you think that is a reasonable outcome tonight?
I think it could have been somewhat influenced by Holiday, but it also wasn't a clear-cut case of him subbing in for Holiday when Holiday gets in foul trouble or anything. One thing that I do like about Mitchell, and that makes me feel pretty comfortable with his minutes, is that he kind of just checks off every box for what the Kings should want in theory, because I think it's pretty clear. The expectation now is pretty much that they're tanking. We got the report from one of their beat writers yesterday that it's unlikely Fox or Sabonis play again this year. But Davion Mitchell is one of their talented young players. There's reason for them to want to get him NBA experience. And then also, even if let's say they're not tanking and they still think they can win in the playoffs or whatever, he's still their next best option too. So he kind of just checks every box there. And he also sees a very nice bump in production when he's played without Halliburton, Fox, or Sabonis this year. 337 minutes, 24.5% usage rate, a fantasy point per minute, mid-20s assist percentage, and then also a really good matchup against Indiana. So there's a ton of really good guards today. And kind of the way I talked about it this morning on the strategy show with Lofty was I think this is generally the case on 11 game slates anyway, but when you talk about the most popular players, they're typically going to be over-owned in the sense that their ownership is higher than their optimal lineup percentage. But because you have multiple spots in your lineup, you still want to be building lineups that have a good chance to succeed as well. And I think that's where guys like Mitchell come in. More often than not, I'm going to be wanting to go to these guys like Davion Mitchell, Tyus Jones, that are popular, but that are also extremely likely to succeed, and then pick my spots in, more marginal, close situations at other positions. So I still think, Mitchell, even at ownership, looks like one of the best plays on the slate.
Definitely. Now, one guy that is kind of popping that I don't feel great about is Jeremy Lamb. Now, he has been out a bunch, but when he first joined the team, he'd been getting pretty good minutes. He's only 3,300, pretty good per minute rates, but it seems like DiVincenzo and Davion Mitchell, who he was competing with for minutes before, have clearly surpassed him. So what do you make of Jeremy Lamb?
Yeah, so he dealt with some injuries too, and then he was kind of a fringe guy. But as long as the ownership stays where it is, and right now we have him at 2%, to me that's what you're looking for with Jeremy Lamb. If this were a slate, and we saw it earlier this year when he was with after he joined Sacramento, and we saw it with Trey Lyles that second game after he started. If this was one of those where everyone was just 20% of the field's going to just throw in Jeremy Lamb because he projects pretty well for his salary, I can find other options given that there is a risk where Lamb plays 16 to 18 minutes and you're not really happy that you have him on a slate of this size. But when you're getting somebody that can produce a fantasy point per minute at close to minimum salary in a good game at 2% owned, it's not like it would shock anybody if he picks up more minutes here. Like I said before, he played 15 and a half minutes last game. You got 20 from Metu, 28 and a half from DiVincenzo, but you have those 31 minutes from Sabonis that are going somewhere, and mostly it's going to be Damian Jones and probably Alex Len. But let's say Trey Lyles gets more center minutes than we're expecting, or let's say Chimezie Metu gets more center minutes than we're expecting. Not only do those guys become better plays, but it opens the door for a wing like Jeremy Lamb to pick up more minutes also that people aren't necessarily projecting.
Agreed. Now, on the Indiana side, we have Isaiah Jackson, Chris Duarte, and Tyrese Halliburton all questionable for this one. Let's just assume everyone plays for now, and then we can readjust later. So if everyone's in here, how are you feeling about the Pacers?
Yeah, if everybody's in, they kind of just look neutral to me in the context of the slate. I think that Halliburton is certainly playable. Buddy Hield is certainly playable. You can, make whatever, draw whatever conclusions you want about what their motivation may be in this game. But it's still just like they're correctly priced, I think, even with Brogdon out. They're not really overpriced, just kind of where they should be. But it's really, really difficult. Like in the case of Halliburton, there's so many guards on this slate, both in terms of value and pay-up options that are going to look a little bit better than him, that it just makes it really difficult to get there. Hield, you expect to play a ton of minutes and, average around a fantasy point per minute. But, for example, he's the same price as RJ Barrett, amongst others. So it kind of just pushes him down to being a secondary option as well. If everybody's in, I have a really hard time prioritizing anything from Indiana, even though this game is likely to be very appealing for fantasy points.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get to the next game here. We got New York at Charlotte. Guys, by the way, got 1,000 people in here. If we can get to 420 likes, much appreciated. All right, New York at Charlotte. We just got the news that Mitchell Robinson is out this game in addition to Julius Randle. So Obi Toppin is one of the top plays in the ownership and popping in the projections as well. Meanwhile, Jericho Sims seems to be in line to get a start unless they go with Taj Gibson. And Sims, his usage rate this year is absurdly low. If these numbers are correct, it says 8.6% usage. Is that right?
Yeah, it's around there. It's loading for me now, but I know it's like sub 10%.
Wow, I never really looked at that, but now that
I have him at 7.1 for the season.
Now that we have to look at him for DFS because he's probably getting a start, it looks like the per minute rates are not anything too impressive here, right? So. Like you'd think like starting center like is pretty appealing, but in this case I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, it's still pretty tough. I mean, the one thing that's nice is that he also has power forward eligibility on DraftKings. But I kind of view him similarly to Taj Gibson, where for one, I don't even know which one of them is going to start. But two, they're both just, Sims is at 0.67 DraftKings points per minute this season. Gibson's at 0.71. I have a hard time really thinking one of them plays more than like 28 to 30 minutes. I mean, I guess it's possible. Like Tibbs could just try and kill Gibson, but yeah, I mean, on this slate, it's just really hard to make them anything more than somebody that you just throw in your lineup and hope that you run really good.
So Obi Toppin is the guy everyone's going to look at. The last game, Taj Gibson was the backup power forward, but now they're like going to have to play him at center. So Toppin got 24 minutes last game, but he didn't get any closing minutes. So what is your expectation for Toppin this game? I know Charlotte's starting PJ Washington at power forward, so the guy that plays a little bigger. What do you think the chances that they roll with more Toppin this game versus going smaller?
I mean, I think they kind of don't have a choice but to do both because I already thought that like it would be a mistake to just give him 24 minutes again today, even before Robinson was ruled out, because in previous starts this year, you had gotten 27 and 45 minutes in regulation. So like yesterday was a case where Gibson got those closing minutes, but there was no guarantee anyway that he was going to get them again today. But then when you think about how the rotation is going to go, you have 48 minutes that have to go to Sims and Gibson basically. So I would expect Toppin to be picking up more minutes at the 4, and then I would just also expect more lineups where RJ Barrett's playing the 4, and you're getting some combination of Quentin Grimes, more minutes for Quickly, more minutes for Miles McBride, whatever they want to do. They're kind of just out of front court bodies. So I don't really, barring something really unusual, I don't really know how Obi Toppin doesn't play a lot of minutes today.
I agree. Yeah, I think he looks really appealing, especially given he didn't close last game. People may be a little bit down on his minutes potential, which if he's getting 24 the first 3 quarters, that could be 30 if he's having a good game. The ownership's going to be there, though. He's at 50% projected ownership tonight. I think as far as value plays today, at 3,400 on DraftKings, 3,600 on FanDuel, he seems like the safest. Is that how you're feeling?
Yeah, and the thing that I think kind of pushes him to the top for me is the position, because I think I've already said it like twice and we're on game number 3. There's a million good guards today. There's always good centers. So the thing is, like, even when you talk about Davion Mitchell, he's still competing with like Tyus Jones and then a bunch of good pay-up guards. When you talk about Obi Toppin, there's not a whole lot at Ford that you really love. So I think the combination of, it's a good matchup. He should get a lot of playing time. He's a good fantasy producer. He's between 0.9 and 1 fantasy points per minute. It just makes it extremely difficult for me to see how he does something that really hurts you at that price when you consider what that price is going to allow you to get into your lineups at other positions as well.
Agreed. Yeah, I wouldn't say free square, but close to that.
Yeah, I think it's as close as you get it on an 11-game slate.
Yeah. Now, what about Barrett? Barrett's kind of popping out because he stands to benefit with Randall off the court being a high usage player that can get some assists. He's showing up as a positive value tonight. How are you feeling about Barrett?
I love Barrett here. He's one of my favorite mid-range plays. I think in general, larger slates, but also larger slates this time of year, tend to lend themselves to being more stars and scrubs just because you get very good cheap value, you get very good pay-up options. But where you are going in the mid-range, I think Barrett stands out as one of the best options because he is likely to play a ton of minutes. He's pretty consistently giving you like 40 plus recently. He played 40, almost 42 last night. But also in 341 minutes without Rose, Kemba, or Randall on the floor this year, not only does Barrett have a 34.4% usage rate, he has a 25% assist percentage. And that's a big deal because, not only is Julius Randle a rebounder and a scorer, but he is involved as a playmaker. And you see RJ Barrett take on more of that when Randall is out. So good matchup, a ton of minutes, favorable position eligibility with guard and forward on DraftKings as well. Still not a bad price tag. I really, really like RJ Barrett.
Definitely. Got a question from Emily in the chat. She said, was that Justin Anderson game from the Pacers a fluke? If everyone's back tonight for the Pacers, I don't think we're going to have to worry about it because I'm kind of penciling in Duarte to start because he started the last game. Brogdon was out that he played. So do you think Duarte would start? If Duarte is out, will Justin Anderson get another start? Because he did get a lot of minutes last game at 36.
Yeah, he got a ton of run last game. It's scary because there's nothing that like differentiates him from Lance Stevenson, Kiefer Sykes, Dwayne Washington. Like this guy wasn't even on the team 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it's really tough to say with any confidence, even if Duarte is out, that Anderson's the guy that gets a ton of minutes and, not Sykes or Washington or, whoever. Also, that game blew out. So like we don't know what the closing rotation would have looked like, although Anderson did close the first half of that game. I would pay a lot of attention to the starting lineup. If Duarte is out and if Anderson starts, my best guess is that he's playing enough minutes to be relevant. But at the same time, if they were to start like Washington or they start Kiefer Sykes or something like that, then my guess would be that you want them over Anderson.
Yeah, that one will be tricky. Anderson is only 3,100. So if he does start, we have him, all right, we have him at about 0.8, 0.75 fantasy points per minute. So if you got 25 minutes, that'd be like 18, 19 points, which would be a good value, but not anything amazing. I don't think we can really put him for 36 again. So
yeah, to me, not that I'm ever going to feel comfortable with Anderson, but if you were to get like all of the questionable guys ruled out, then you start getting a situation where like they're pretty shorthanded. But if it's just like Duarte out, you're still running the risk of just being on the wrong side of the rotation, based on who's playing well.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because for anybody that's not familiar with Justin Anderson prior to last game, he is not good at the basketball.
Yeah, wasn't he part of the process teams in Philadelphia? It's been a while.
I don't remember if he was there. I know he was on the Wizards briefly a year or two ago. He was on Dallas briefly. I know I still have the very distinct memory of being in San Diego with Siege on a day when Anderson was on Dallas. He got announced as the starter like 10 minutes before lock, and we both swapped to a ton of him, and he was low owned. We were really excited about it. Went to a bar, watched the game, and he has the ugliest jump shot outside of Sean Marion, and is just bricking everything. It was so bad.
Well, Sean Marion made it work, so I don't.
Yeah, Sean Marion actually would go in just an Anderson.
All right, let's go back to the games here. Charlotte. There's not really a ton injury wise. Gordon Hayward's still out. So I would say this is not a team I'm prioritizing a ton tonight. Do you see anything worth talking about on Charlotte?
Not really. LaMelo Ball made my FanDuel DraftKings tournament plays video earlier, but even then, even in the video, I clarified that it's not that he's very likely to succeed. It's just that we have him going a little bit under-owned, and obviously he has a very high ceiling. But even since then, we've gotten more news, more values opened up. So, he can do really well, but he's still pretty far down the list of guards.
My play from this one was on our Discord picks package. If you guys haven't checked that out, make sure to try it out. But for some reason, Mason Plumlee always has these high rebound props. I got it at under 8.5 today. So it seems like they've been going smaller at center. So Plumlee and Harrell haven't combined for 48 minutes in the last two games, and New York's centers aren't anything too intimidating there. So that was a bet that I found pretty good value on today. With DFS, of course, we got a lot of great tools to add to your arsenal. You can get our NBA DFS package, which has the player projections, ownership projections, as a boom bust tool where you can compare the ownership with the probability of being in the optimal lineup, and also what are the chances they're going to bust or get more than 10x value, which is usually 5x plus 10 value, which is what you need to win. And of course, Discord. And you can also get the express version for $5 a week. So make sure to check out our NBA DFS package on the site. All right, Brooklyn at Memphis. Goran Dragic is doubtful for this one. Seth Curry is questionable. It was announced earlier. They're both game time decisions. So I'm sure Greg Ehrenberg on the next show will have some comments on that. But with Dragic out, it's kind of a wash because Kyrie is playing this one since it's a road game. Although Kyrie being in, obviously that's not great for Durant's fantasy production. So the net result is I'm just not seeing a ton on Brooklyn tonight. What are you seeing?
Yeah, there's not much I can prioritize. Clearly, I'm never going to say you shouldn't or you can't play Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. Either of them are both capable of having a monster game. I think actually the last time we were in this situation, it was a slate where it was really difficult to prioritize Kyrie, and then he had 60 points at halftime or something. So the ceiling is there, but from a probability standpoint, it's not a priority compared to a lot of the other top options.
Man, someone in chat's like, Alex is stoned. I'm not stoned, but if we can get to 420 likes, I would appreciate that. All right. So on the Memphis side, I think this is one of the teams to talk about today because John Morant continues to be out. Tyus Jones hasn't really gotten the price bump yet. He's only 4,600 on DraftKings, 4,300 on FanDuel. So he's the guy that it's hard to not put him in your lineup. So how are you handling Tyus Jones today?
Yeah, it's really difficult because he is just completely mispriced. He's averaged 0.85 DraftKings points per minute when he has shared the floor with Dillon Brooks and Jaren Jackson without Morant this year. You're expecting him to get 30 to 32 minutes. It's not like it's a bad matchup. Memphis has a 118 implied total. This is just another completely mispriced guy where the only thing that will keep him, the only reason he wouldn't be in 100% of my lineups is that the opportunity cost to guard is so high. I think it would be a mistake to go in saying like, oh, well, I'm only playing Tyus Jones, Davion Mitchell, assuming you're playing multiple lineups. Oh, I'm only playing Tyus Jones, Davion Mitchell, and Jaylen Brunson. Like, screw all the other pay up guards and Spencer Dinwiddie and, all these other guys. So just because of the slate size, you end up, mixing and matching, but he's clearly one of the best point per dollar values. And really, at least on DraftKings, he's the only guy from Memphis that I think is drastically mispriced with Morant out.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, he's getting the minutes with Morant out. He's averaged, it looks like he's averaged 27 in the last 2 games he's out, but he didn't close either game. So that's a little bit misleading. And he's the guy that gets assists on this team. So he's a guy that I feel pretty comfortable, even if I get to 100%. Now, the other guy that's kind of popping to me is Dillon Brooks. Obviously, Brooks, he likes to shoot. He should get more shots with Morant out. And he's another guy that hasn't been closing any of the last 4 games. Like, I find that pretty anomalous and unlikely to continue. So I think everyone's a little bit down on Brooks, but like, if you just look at this at face value, Brooks without Ja Morant, it seems like a pretty good opportunity. What do you think?
I'm with you. I'm pretty high on Brooks here for the same reasons you were just saying. So Brooks has been back from injury for 4 games. And I think when that happens and, a player comes back from injury and then plays a handful of games and you don't see their minutes going up, there's a tendency to get like really pessimistic on their minutes projections. But with Brooks, he played 26 minutes in his first game back. That was a 7-point game. Then he played 24 minutes in a 33-point win over Indiana. Wouldn't expect him to be playing a ton of minutes in that game. Played 26 minutes in a 15-point win or 15-point loss to Atlanta. Also had 4 fouls in that game. And then played 25 minutes in a 24-point win over Houston. So he's played 1 competitive game in those 4. He played 26 minutes. I would be surprised if this game is competitive. And he's not in foul trouble. I would be surprised if you get less than at least 28 to 30 minutes from Brooks. And I wouldn't be shocked if you actually got a little bit more.
Totally. And I think 5,800, that's a pretty good value. So Brooks is someone I'm planning to be pretty over on the field. That's about all I got from Memphis. Are you looking at anyone else?
You can throw Jackson and Bane into the conversation too, just because and you mentioned it when we talked about Jones. The main reason we like him in DFS is that he's very, very good at getting assists, but he's not a high usage guy. So with Morant out, there is still a pretty good chance that one of the Bane, Jackson, Brooks group takes over in terms of scoring. And in the minutes that Jackson and Brooks have been on the court without Morant this year, Jackson has a 27.5% usage rate. Bane's at 20.2%. But, obviously over a larger sample, you could see that vary. So Brooks, when you factor in the salary, is my preferred option, but I do think Jackson and Bane in tournaments make sense too.
Nice. Utah, Boston, Utah, still no Bogdanovic or House. So the last game, Mike Conley actually played a lot of minutes. I found that really surprising because it seems like he's the guy that never gets the minutes. But I'm not seeing a ton on the team today. Like, this seems like a slate where, unless there's injuries, like new injuries, we can't really be banking on much. So what are you thinking with Utah today?
Yeah, it's one of the teams where on the slate, they're essentially healthy. I mean, you don't have Bogdanovic, but he's been out for several games now. So there's no glaring value left over from that. Gobert, if you get to some of him, that's never bad. He certainly has a high ceiling. Same goes for Donovan Mitchell, but he's pretty far down the list of guard priorities for me. So I think this is one of the teams that's least appealing from a DFS standpoint for me.
All right. Thanks, Jeff, for the super chat. He says bigger priority on DraftKings, Jones or Mitchell. Well, it's tough because there are different price points. I guess Jones maybe for me, just because, like, assuming he gets to start, there's absurd points per dollar there. What do you think?
I assume he means Tyus, right?
Oh, okay. I was thinking
Damian. I was thinking Damian first
Jones. Too. Yeah. Okay. Tyus Jones or Davion Mitchell. So. I'd say both. Honestly, yeah. I can't really pick between those two.
Yeah, and that's so, like, normally in situations like this, if you have to pick one for a tournament lineup and you can't have two for whatever reason, I would just say pick the lower owned one. But we have Tyus Jones at 32%. We have Davion at 29%. So it's to me, they're just two of the overall best plays on the slate. in a lot on a lot of slates, they would be guys that I just jammed into every lineup and found other plays elsewhere. The only reason I wouldn't today is, like I was saying before, there's just so many other guards that I still like that I'm just me rotating through. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would say Jones simply because he gives you an extra $600, but I really don't have a strong preference. I just think that they're literally two of the best plays on the slate.
Agreed. Yeah, I'd go for the price discount there as well. Go with Tyus Jones. All right, on the Boston side of this Utah versus Boston game, Marcus Smart is probable tonight, as well as Robert Williams. So not a ton of value on Boston today. My main play here is the under 3.5 assists for Al Horford. So that it tells you how excited I am for this one. Do you see any value here on the Celtics?
I'm with you on the assists, and also no. Like Jason Tatum, you're never wrong for getting there, but pretty difficult to prioritize him in this spot. Jaylen Brown made it into my DraftKings tournament video earlier, but in the same way as LaMelo, where it was just like, okay, well, he's getting no ownership and he's capable of scoring 50 points. But yeah, this overall should be a very good basketball game to watch. And it's kind of funny because on this slate, you have games like Sacramento, Indiana, Orlando, OKC, where they're going to be just god-awful games, but good for fantasy. This one's the exact opposite, I think.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Prize Picks. If you haven't checked them out, I mean, it's taking off like a wildfire. As far as how many people I hear talk about Prize Picks, they got daily prop-based contests. You can use the promo code Awesemo for $100 first match deposit bonus. Basically, you pick between 2 and 5 props, and you can pick like between like an absurd amount of sports, like way more than any other fantasy site. You can download the App Store, or just go to the website prizepicks.com. We have our free tool on the site to give you possible props to use on Prize Picks. And you can also get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up using the link in the description of the video and make a deposit. Within 24 to 48 hours, you get that promo code for the free month. Let's talk about some Prize Picks props. I got the tool up here. There are no odds on these, so you just kind of like want to find the ones that you feel like have the highest percentage chance. Now, the Clint Capella rebounds is popping, and at first I'm like, okay, that seems a little bit like odd, but with John Collins out, they're probably going pretty small at center in Atlanta. So I would think there's a possibility he gets more rebounds than normal. What are some props that you're liking on Prize Picks?
I had Capella over 11 rebounds. And then also Embiid over 11.5. I mean, I really like the spot against the Lakers. You're talking about a team that cannot shoot and also doesn't really have bigs. Unless you think Dwight Howard is really going to be taking rebounds away from Embiid at a high rate, I expect him to rebound very well against this team.
Nice. All right, we just got some news here. Okay, so Duarte is out. However, Isaiah Jackson and Tyrese Halliburton are in tonight. So kind of going back to the Pacers, got that news well ahead of schedule. I'd say Justin Anderson, like if we get news that he's in the starting lineup, you could play him. Although we only have him projected for 20 compared to other values tonight, that's not going to be nearly as exciting as some other guys. So any second thoughts on Justin Anderson? What do you think the chances that he starts tonight?
I think the chances he starts are decent. I mean, it's always tough because like I don't know what Indiana's goals are either. They won the last game by 1 million, so maybe they keep the same starting lineup. I don't know, but if he starts, I do think he's playable. But I would certainly pay attention to the ownership because that's the kind of guy where like occasionally you will just sort of see some people gravitating towards him, especially because he's cheap and has small forward eligibility. Where like you could just play Jeremy Lamb instead, and you're still getting a guy that plays questionable minutes, but that at least produces at a high rate. So he's playable if he starts, but I would also have very little confidence.
Agreed. Not a high priority, although if I see him in small lineups, I'm not gonna to really worry too much about that. All right, Golden State at Miami. Golden State is resting guys on the second leg of the back-to-back tonight. Steph Curry remains out, and then Klay Thompson, Porter and Green are all resting. So first we got to start by thinking of what the starting lineup will be. Like a few games, I thought Kuminga would get a start, but then like came off the bench. Like, do you think that he gets a start tonight, or what would you expect from the starting lineup here?
My best guess here is Poole, Wiggins, Kuminga, probably Moody and Looney.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking too. So with that in mind, Kuminga being at 4,100, sees the potential for a pretty decent minutes bump. He's already been playing like good minutes, around 20 to 24 a game in the last couple weeks. So if you get set up to the high 20s, he looks like a pretty good value. Is he someone that you're going to bank on tonight with Kuminga?
Yeah, I think it's a good value. I mean, the matchup obviously is very difficult, but Kuminga's not a bad point per minute fantasy producer anyway. And then you are getting him without Draymond, without Clay, and without Curry. So it is a situation like this is someone that when he's playing with, for lack of a better phrase, alphas, he gets less usage. But when he's out there with the second unit, or, you know, in this case, just a bunch of guys that aren't like really top tier NBA players, he's going to get more shots up. So even though the matchup's difficult, I do think that the playing time and the increase in usage makes Kuminga look like a good value.
Nice. We got news that Seth Curry is out tonight, so let's rewind to Brooklyn real quick. I mean, Patty Mills has been getting a lot of minutes, mostly earlier this season, but the last week as well. So I think they could go different ways because Kyrie is in for this one, but Patty Mills seems like the likely guy to get minutes. He's only 3,400 on DraftKings, so that's kind of popping in value. How confident would you feel with Patty Mills?
It's not a word I would use in the same sentence as Patty Mills. He is cheap. He's 3,400. If he starts, I assume he's playing 30 to 32 minutes. I assume his role is going to be to go stand in the corner, catch the ball when Durant or Kyrie let him have it, and then shoot. And if he's making shots, he'll pay it off. If he's not, he won't. And that's never a very easy position to be in as far as confidence goes. But he's cheap and certainly another value play that we can rotate into lineups, assuming he starts.
Agreed. Yeah. Kind of looking at the rates, they've been down a lot over the past few months, so that there's a lot of reasons to be bearish on Patty Mills. It looks like we have him projected for 21 in the next update that I'm about to push here. So
21 fantasy points or 21%?
21 fantasy points at 3,400. Right, so that is a decent value, but on tonight's slate, that might not be quite enough to get in the lineups. So what do you think?
I'm curious. I don't even know if it's a decent sample size or not. I'll know in a second. But Mills has played. He's only played. Oh, there it goes. Nope, that didn't work. All right, so he's played 480 minutes with Durant on the floor and Harden off, without accounting for Irving, and he's averaged 0.66 DraftKings points per minute. Obviously, any minutes he's out there with Irving, you would expect that to probably go down, but 14.8% usage, not really what you're going to get excited about.
Yeah, definitely. So he seems to be a guy that will get the minutes, but not necessarily have the permanent production to be fantasy, a fantasy option tonight that you can really bank on. All right, on Miami, on the other side of this Golden State one, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Victor Oladipo, and Caleb Martin are all questionable for this one. So it's a little bit hard to know what to do. But I feel pretty confident that if all those guys play, there's not a ton to look at on the Heat. How are you gonna handle this one?
Yeah, I agree. It's a spot where if everybody's in, Butler and Bam are certainly playable, but not priorities for me. They start to get more interesting, depending on who's ruled out. If Butler is out and Hero's in, that's a bump for Hero. It's a bump for Lowry and Bam. They look a little bit better, but it's still, I think, pretty tough to, even if you assume, even if you say Butler is out, I think it's pretty tough to say any of them would be a true priority on this slate.
Yeah. Now, if Butler was out, Caleb Martin has been a guy that's really benefited in the past. I can't remember who started the game 2 games ago when Butler was out, but Caleb Martin did get, he played 26 minutes. Would he be a good option if Butler's out?
Yeah, I think that he would look better. It's just still that there's so many like top tier plays elsewhere.
Yeah, that's true. I guess we don't have to force any plays tonight. There's plenty of great options. All right, let's move on to Phoenix at Minnesota. On Phoenix, Cameron Johnson remains out for this one. Cameron Payne missed the last game. He's expected to be back tonight. So that will possibly cut into Devin Booker's rates a little bit compared to last game. But the guy that's been getting a crazy amount of minutes has been Mikael Bridges. He played 45 in the last one and 44 a few games ago. So they seem to really be banking on him. I don't think this is like a great fantasy option, but I was just amused that he's getting that kind of minutes. Is there anyone from Phoenix that's really standing out to you?
So I mean, yeah, Bridges' minutes are great. It's just I think you agree. Like it's just still tough to get to him on this slate. The only guy that really stands out to me at all would be Booker. He was actually in both my DraftKings and FanDuel tournament videos earlier, just because he's still going to get a lot of opportunities here. This game's likely to be high scoring. He's in the 6 games he's played without Paul and with Payne. He still has about a 30% usage rate and a 28% assist percentage. Averaging 1.45 DraftKings points per minute. So like you're still getting a massive ceiling from someone at only $9,300, and he's not projected for a ton of ownership either. Beyond him, DeAndre Ayton, Cameron Payne, they're there, but they're not guys that I'm prioritizing.
Yeah, agreed. So Booker and Payne would be my 2 guys as well, but not anyone that you have to like lock in, but solid options. On the Minnesota side, Karl-Anthony Towns is questionable for this one. I'm having trouble taking this one as seriously as a normal questionable because it feels like he's been questionable the last few games. And it looks like he played his full minutes last game. It was 37. So like, I don't normally try to like make a ton of prognostications based on the Q tag, but it seems more likely that he plays than average questionable. What do you think?
Yeah, I see it the same way because for one, Towns typically just plays. 2, it's a like arm contusion and the same issue that he had last time he was on the injury report. And 3, Minnesota's been very, I guess, transparent with their injuries this year. Like they just list multiple guys as questionable, like almost every game, and then more often than not, they just all play. So the combination of all 3 of those make me think it's pretty likely that Karl-Anthony Towns plays.
Nice. So if he does play, there's not really a ton to talk about in this team, I would say, aside from Karl-Anthony Towns himself, always being a good option, but not necessarily one that we have a ton of reason to believe tonight's going to be the night. So will Minnesota be a team you're not going to get a ton of exposure to?
Yeah, I think it's tough. And I mean, it scares me because I think this game is likely to be close and competitive and high scoring and all that. It just comes back to, DFS being a game of salaries more than anything. And so, yeah, I'm not going to be mad if I get to a little bit of Towns, a little bit of Russell, a little bit of Beverly. But at the same time, like I can tell you I like Patrick Beverly, and your immediate response should be like, oh, so would you play him over Tyus Jones or Davion Mitchell? And it would just be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't like him that much.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you can like all the guys you want. You only get 8 or 9 spots to pick them. So fading more guys than you're playing in any particular lineup. All right, Orlando at OKC. Now, I think this is a game where you got 2 really weak teams going up against each other. Sometimes that's fantasy gold. In this case, we'll have to wait and see. On the Orlando side, Gary Harris and Wendell Carter are questionable for this one. If Wendell Carter misses the game, that seems like it would open up a good amount for Chuma Okeke and Mo Bamba to play more. And then I'm not seeing a ton here. RJ Hampton could benefit with getting the start with Jalen Suggs out, but how do you feel about RJ Hampton and the rest of the Magic?
So I think Orlando low-key has the chance to just like ruin this slate and just really make it really annoying. Like if Carter gets ruled out and and Harris gets ruled out. They would have like 10 bodies, but 2 of those bodies would be Brusdakis and Schofield, who like don't even really count. So there's the potential for them to just kind of be one of those teams where like you end up playing guys that you're not excited to play at all. But I agree with you. If Carter is out, Okiki's minutes should look a lot better. He would look like a good value at 4,200. RJ Hampton at 4,100. He's not a good fantasy producer, but he is likely to give you around 30 minutes. If Gary Harris ends up being out, he could play a little bit more, although I expect Terrence Ross probably just takes most of Gary Harris's minutes. So Hampton's somebody where, I don't think he should be getting a ton of ownership on this slate, and he's not. We have him at 9%, so that's just somebody that fits into a lineup here or there. If you happen to just have a bunch of popular plays and need a little bit of a discount in that $4,100 range, you can go to Hampton, but he's not somebody that I'm overly confident in.
Agreed. Yeah, with Hampton, I'm looking at his rates. They're a lot lower on the Magic than they were earlier this season. So I personally am not overly excited for him. With Carter, if Carter was out, that seems like he could open up some stuff. Okiki would be the main guy there. On the other side of this one, OKC, SGA is questionable. I think he was also questionable the last game and played, so that's another one that's a little bit tough to read into. But the difference is the Thunder seem to be a team that could just rest him for no reason. So the guy that really crushed last game, I think, was Trey Mann, though. That was kind of out of left field. We kind of thought he'd be a little bit less exciting with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander back. So what are you going to do with the Thunder tonight?
Yeah, so SGA to me seems like a very, very legitimate Q tag. Normally, I would lean towards him playing because he's been questionable a lot recently and been playing through it, even though like every show we're like, oh, well, it's OKC. Like they have no reason to play him, but then he plays. So it just seems like, it's like, okay, no, I'm good. I'm going to play. But with this game being against Orlando and them being so close to each other towards the bottom of the standings, it just wouldn't surprise me at all if you get the like, oh, Wendell Carter Jr. is out. And then OKC is like, oh, okay, well, Shai is also really hurt. He's not going to play. And you just get these two teams just not, just running out the worst teams that they can. That being said, if we get SGA in, I really like him at 9,700. Good matchup. Good price tag, 35 or give or take 35% usage rate without Giddey, assist percentage in the same ballpark. So if he plays, I think he looks really good. If he doesn't play, it opens up more for Trey Mann, for Pokusevski, for Darius Baisley. Also, you can maybe get to some Teo Maledon at 3,300. He did only play about 21 minutes in the last game that SGA missed. So for whatever that's worth. But yeah, it's basically if SGA is in, I think he's really the only priority I have from OKC. If he's out, I think it makes all of Baisley, Mann, Pokusevski, Maledon look better.
I saw Bill in chat says Roby screws me every time. Yep. Well, the clear answer seems to be just don't play Roby. Like I don't understand. But
yeah, but then when you don't, he goes. So like the thing with Roby is he plays 16 minutes for like 5 games in a row, and then he gets down to like 4,400, and you're like, man, that's kind of tempting, but I can't do it. And then he scores like 50 DraftKings points.
Fair, yeah. There was a stretch where he was playing like 35 minutes a game, it felt like, which is crazy.
And then last game he played 26 minutes and gets 12 fantasy points. So
yeah. One guy that's popping out for me, even with SGA projected in, is Darius Baisley. He's another guy where he's been getting crazy minutes recently. He's got 36 in the last game. 2 games ago, a little bit less, but then it's pretty consistently in the 30 to low 30s range. So I'm looking at his rates. It looks like there's not really any reason for me to think that Baisley wouldn't be as good as he's been all season. So I'm kind of defaulting on him being a strong option, especially against a weaker team in Orlando. So how are you feeling about Darius Baisley?
Yeah, I think he looks pretty good. I think he would look a little bit better. There's actually 2 pieces of news that could make him look a little better. If SGA is out, then, obviously there's just more shots to go around. But we also have Olivier Sarr questionable. And if Sarr is out, not only does that make me feel more comfortable with Isaiah Roby's minutes, but it does most likely mean that you're getting more center minutes from Darius Baisley, which we know just typically leads to better fantasy production.
Agreed. Yeah, I think Sar being out could complicate things a little bit, especially for Bill, who was struggling with what to do with Roby. So we'll have to see what happens there. That'll be an interesting one. Let's get to the next game, but before we do, I want to talk about our other sponsor, Breaks of God. I don't know if you guys have ever tried out these card breaks, but they're a lot of fun. Basically, you throw in for like they have these hobby boxes basically where they have these rare cards from all the different sports like NBA. Okay, so Breaks of God, like they'll organize these breaks where you throw in, you get all the cards from that box for a certain team or multiple teams usually, or like a division. There's a few different ways they do it. And sometimes pretty cool cards that you can get. And then like basically they go live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, I believe, on Instagram. So you can see them open the cards and sweat the break. And you can get 30% off your first break if you click the link in the video description, or go to breaksofgod.com/A30. A30, 30% off your first break, and go to Instagram. They're at Breaks of God. So a lot of fun doing some card breaks, getting some memorabilia from the guys that we're rostering every night. All right.
So we before we get into the next one, we got some coach speak that we can do, I guess, whatever we want with. Alvin Gentry said that he would like to get Josh Jackson some minutes. He hasn't really been given an opportunity. He also said, quote, "We'd love to be able to get Nemi some minutes," referring to the third center, but Alex Len will get minutes as well. So I don't really have huge takeaways there other than there's a non-zero chance the Kings run a really annoying rotation tonight.
Yeah, so let's see. Nemi hasn't played at all in the last few months, so this is pretty relevant. Like, I think the main takeaway is just don't play Alex Len. Like,
yeah, it scares me on Alex Len, and it scares me on Jeremy Lamb, because the Jeremy Lamb role is like if you want to give Josh Jackson minutes, it's most likely the Jeremy Lamb role.
That's a good point. So, like, it's hard to. Like, I don't think Josh Jackson, we can play him just based on this, right? But he is 3K.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can play Jackson. That feels insanely deep.
Yeah.
It's more so, and like I still think you can play Lamb. It's just we'd already talked about Lamb's minutes being volatile, which is part of the reason that you like him. But this is also the kind of risk factor. Also, keep in mind Alvin Gentry lies constantly. There's a decent chance that neither of these guys step on the floor tonight.
Yeah, I think it would make sense if they play Nemi, like over Len. Like, who really cares, right? Like,
right,
Alex
exactly.
Len, they pretty much know what they got there. But
yeah, and even if they go like, let's say they go 24 minutes for Jones, 12 for each of Len and Keita, like, is that ideal for Jones? No. But if you guarantee me 24 minutes from him, I'm still playing him at 3,700. So it doesn't change a ton.
Yeah. So I might play a little less Jeremy Lamb based on the coach speak. Like, you got to be really confident in a guy on this slate to play them in the first place. So having any reason to doubt that they're going to play is enough for me. All right, Houston at Dallas. On Houston, not really seeing a ton injury-wise. Everyone is in on the injury report. So that's kind of a situation where it's hard to find much. One thing I've noticed recently is it seems like they've been playing more Şengün plus Wood lineups, which has been at the expense of Jae'Sean Tate and KJ Martin. Have you noticed anything there? And then Christian Wood played a ton of minutes last game and closed alongside Şengün. So does this playing them together mentality like have more upside for both of them?
Yeah, I think, and that's something we've seen kind of come and go as the season's gone on. At one point, Silas even was like, I don't want to do that anymore. And then like a week later, he was like, I think I should do that more. But what it does is it increases the ceiling for Christian Wood, because you kind of assume that Şengün's going to get like 16 to 22 minutes every game. There's no real reason Houston wouldn't be getting him those minutes. And if they're going to refuse to play him and Wood alongside each other, it means that Wood's not playing more than 32 minutes. But if they're going to play alongside each other, it makes it so at least when Christian Wood is playing well, he can get 34 to 36 minutes, which gives him a ridiculously high ceiling, even if from a median projection he's still a little bit overpriced. And then, again, it takes minutes away from those other guys. For example, Jayshawn Tate at 4,200. If you told me he was going to play 28 minutes like he did earlier in the year, then he'd look pretty good. But because he's probably not, he doesn't look as good. And then actually in this particular matchup, one other thing that impacts is that this is actually the same matchup we got during the DraftKings Live Final a week and a half ago. And like, half the field played Maxi Kleber, and then Kleber played like 4 minutes. Part of it was foul trouble, but the other part of it was Wood was out. And so Houston went with a starting lineup of KJ Martin and Şengün, and there was no real reason for Dallas to play Kleber alongside Powell. Knowing or assuming that Houston is going to be willing to play Wood and Şengün next to each other, it means that you can project a couple of more minutes for the Powell-Kleber combination on the other side as well.
Definitely. Unfortunately, I don't know if we can leverage this information too much in the main slate, but for late slate,
I think for the Dallas front court guys, you can a little bit.
Okay.
For the Houston guys, it's tougher.
Nice. Shout out to Green Gang and chat for the super chat. He says, who are your top 2 FanDuel cash payups and who are your top 2 sub 5K cash plays on FanDuel? I think the value pieces on FanDuel, one of the guys that's really popping is in the next game, Jalen Brunson with no Luka. He's only 5,300. And then Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks, and Obi Toppin. All really good values. Who are your favorite cash payups on FanDuel?
For payups, I think I'd say Murray and Embiid at 10-1 and 11K. And then for values, I think I'm with you on Brunson and Toppin. Or Mitchell or Jones. Like, none of them are wrong.
Awesome. All right, let's get to Dallas here. So you're mentioning maybe some interest in the front court. It does look like Powell and Kleber have decent values, although around 5K. On FanDuel, a little bit underpriced. But I think with Luka out, the guys we're really honing in on are going to be Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson, the other 2 point guards. Both like pretty great players, but limited a little bit by Luka Doncic just kind of being a dominant player. So with Doncic out, I mean, we've seen Brunson without Doncic a few times this season. So it's been great, but not like lock territory. But now they got Dinwiddie, so that makes it a little bit trickier. How are you handling this one?
Yeah, I think it makes – I mean, they both look great because the matchup's really good. The pricing is favorable. They're likely to play a lot of minutes. We actually have gotten a little bit more playing time from them alongside each other since Dinwiddie joined the team without Luka on the floor than I would have expected. Didn't load right the first time, but going from memory, I think it's like 130, 140 minutes. 129 minutes Dinwiddie's played with Brunson without Luka. So far over that relatively small sample, 1.32 DraftKings points per minute for Dinwiddie, 1.03 for Brunson. But the main takeaway is when they've shared the floor, you have a 30.5% usage rate for Dinwiddie, 26% for Brunson, 30.5% assist percentage for Dinwiddie, 25 for Brunson. So they're basically just doing all of the playmaking and shooting when they're on the floor together. And then I think it's also fair to expect that at least most of their minutes will be staggered. So around 33% of their minutes would come without the other one on the floor, in which case they're going to do even more. So that's why they both look really good. And then the other main rotation pieces on Dallas look a little bit better because you are taking out not only a very high usage guy in Luka, but you're also taking out a very good rebounder. So Dorian Finney-Smith's around 0.85 DraftKings points per minute without Luka or Porzingis on the floor this year. Dwight Powell's rebounding percentage gets up to 14%, so he looks a little better at 4,800. Talked about Kleber maybe getting a little bit more run because there's certainly minutes available and also a matchup where they could do it. And then Bullock is not very good, but it is a good matchup and he's likely to play a lot of minutes. So I think Brunson and Dinwiddie are obviously the priorities here, but there's also just going to be a lot of lineups where like maybe you can't get to those guys because you go Tyus Jones plus Mitchell plus I don't know, some Trae Young or something. But like you still want to get to some Dallas. I think, the Finney-Smith pieces, Finney-Smith, Powell, Bullock type pieces fit pretty well in those lineups.
So yeah, that's a great question. Like how Dinwiddie and Brunson compare to the other great point guards in this slate, including Tyus Jones. Now,
I think. Oh, good.
one thing, like maybe we just don't want to play them in the same lineup, Dinwiddie and Brunson, since there are so many great point guards on this slate. That might be a rule to add in Fantasy Cruncher. But how do these guys stack up?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable one. I kind of thought about it earlier. I'm not sure if I'll do it or not, but I definitely think it's reasonable. But I think they're kind of similar in that I think Mitchell and Jones are the better point per dollar plays just because they're less expensive. But Dinwiddie and Brunson are pretty similar in terms of points per dollar, and there's so much value elsewhere on this slate that it's not like it's going to be difficult to construct a lineup where you say, okay, well, I'm going to play Dinwiddie instead of Davion Mitchell. So kind of like I didn't have a very good answer earlier to Mitchell over Jones. I don't have a really good answer here. I think these four as a group are just like the top four.
Yeah. So we don't necessarily. I guess one of my mantras is if you can't decide between a few players, just play more than one lineup. I know some guys don't like to think that way, but like you got all these great options, so you can mix and match them.
I mean, I used to, when I first started playing tournaments and I would build like 20 lineups by hand or whatever, I would just build a core and then like whatever spot in my core I thought had the most interchangeable pieces, I would just like rotate that one or two spots like as many different ways as I wanted to. That's kind of like how I'm thinking about these guard spots. It's just like I know I'm going to have a lot of lineups that are just rotating through different variations of Brunson, Jones, Mitchell, and Dinwiddie.
Totally. And guys, I want to address something I've been seeing in the chat is that okay, the boom bust tool for DraftKings, we are working on getting that optimal backup, so that shouldn't be a problem. Just wait a little bit for that. All right. Philadelphia at LA. Philadelphia, Harden and Embiid were out last game. They're back now, so that means I'm really only looking at those two. Embiid maybe the preference there, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. Like it seemed like his assists were dropping a ton once Harden joined the team, but looks like that's come back up a little bit. So I don't know exactly how to interpret all this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just they both are really, really good. And they're both pretty cheap too. I mean, 9,900 for Harden is, I think, really inexpensive. 11K for Embiid is still probably 500 to 1,000 less expensive than it should be. In the 11 games that they've played together this year, Harden has a 25.5% usage rate, 44.5% assist percentage, 1.34 DraftKings points per minute, but also 38 minutes per game. And then for Embiid, 1.63 DraftKings points per minute, 37% usage, 21% assist percentage, and 35 minutes per game. On top of that, a really good matchup against the Lakers. I've seen it mentioned a few times in chat today that like that people don't want to play Embiid or Harden as much because LeBron is out. And I get it, but this is still a really, really good matchup. And these two are still going to do everything for the Sixers for as long as they're in the game. And it is a road game for Philly as well. I mean, it's like a 9.5 point spread. It's not nothing, but it's not like this is a, guaranteed 3-quarter blowout either.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm always worried about my team, the team of the guy that I'm rostering getting blown out. If they get the blowout, Embiid's going to get there. Harden's going to get there. Like at least get you a score that you're not going to feel horrible about. So on the Lakers side of this one with LeBron out, I've been kind of trying to puzzle over this starting lineup because they started Wenyon Gabriel at small forward the other night with Howard as center. But Jaylen Horton Tucker is back for this one too. So like I feel like it's a little bit of throwing darts at the starting lineup. However, I don't know if anyone's really going to stand out on the main slate. I'm kind of looking at Carmelo maybe as someone that gets a lot more shots with LeBron out. And then Russell Westbrook, I thought I would like him more than I do, but the numbers just aren't adding up to what I would want to see. So how do you feel about Westbrook? And what do you think with the rest of the team?
I think Westbrook's interesting in tournaments just because he's only projected for 10% ownership, and it's not hard to envision him getting a triple-double. But the issue is just, it's not there's guards that aren't that much more expensive than Westbrook that look really good, but there's also just so many that are cheaper that are also in situations where their rates and or minutes are expected to skyrocket. It's not even a case of like, oh, I don't think Russell Westbrook's good or whatever, but it's more so a case of just like, I don't necessarily need to prioritize that price point in lineups. He certainly has a very, very high ceiling here, but I just don't think he really stands out relative to other guards outside of, if you're just going to take shots in tournaments. The Taylor Horton Tucker news is at least somewhat important because he did start the last game that LeBron missed. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. Could affect some playing time. For what it's worth this year, 520 minutes without LeBron or Davis on the floor, 1.31 DraftKings points per minute for Westbrook. So, good production and likely to give you 36 minutes or so. But again, that just doesn't make you look that great on this particular slate. Carmelo Anthony's at about a fantasy point per minute. Monk's at 0.92. One value piece that I'm interested in is Wenyon Gabriel, who started again last game. He had started a couple games ago against Cleveland, I think it was, or maybe it was, I think it was Washington. A couple games ago, I think it was against Washington. Gabriel got off to like a ridiculous start, scored like 17 actual points in 6 minutes, and then got in foul trouble. But then last game, he avoided foul trouble, played 31 minutes and change. He's not a bad point per dollar guy. He's only 3,500. He got power forward eligibility on DraftKings. So I do actually think he's a value piece you can look at.
Nice. All right, we got 3 minutes for this last game, so let's rapid fire. Spurs, Portland. On the Spurs side, I know you said you like Murray as a pay up. Like everyone on the Spurs seems to be popping in value. Like honestly, you could play any of them. So what do you see here?
Yeah, I agree. Murray really, really stands out. I think he's just wildly underpriced. 10-3 on DraftKings for a guy that rebounds and gets assists at the rate that he does, in addition to having a 30% usage rate, and is going up against the Trailblazers is phenomenal. I mentioned 10-1 on FanDuel looks great as well. If you're going mid-range center, I think Pirtle's one of the better options in that price range. And then I think it's kind of a step back, but still Devin Vassell at 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel. Keldon Johnson playing a lot of minutes at 6,500. Josh Primo potentially getting some more run at 3,500 since Lonnie Walker and McDermott are both out. Those guys are all playable as well. But I think the priorities for me are Murray and Pirtle.
On the Portland side, okay, so we got Josh Hart remaining out for this one. I don't see a ton here, although Eubanks looks playable. Chris Dunn, I know he was popular last slate, but that was like a small slate. So do you see any pieces on Portland you want?
Not really. Just a bunch of pieces that look kind of mediocre to me, I think. Like Brandon Williams, Justice Winslow, Chris Dunn. Those guys all look fine with, this team is shorthanded as it is. You got like 30 minutes from a $3,400 Macklemore last game, but it's another team where, I can tell you I like these guys, but I can also just pretty quickly name 4 or 5 guys I like more.
Nice. All right, guys. So hopefully this gives you a good lay of the land for tonight's slate. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Make sure to check them out with the promo code Awesemo. You can get a free month of Awesemo plus a $100 bonus. It also breaks a guide for your card breaks. And we got a full hour leading you all the way up to lock with Eric and Greg. So stay tuned.
What is going on, everybody? It's the Awesemo NBA Live Before Lock show. We are sponsored by Prize Picks here on Wednesday. So Eric and I are going to be spending the next hour talking about the NBA DFS slate, and then we're going to be talking about Prize Picks a little bit afterwards, going through prop picks, talking about Odd Shopper, and probably reacting to whatever kind of late news that we have going on. And there's going to be a lot of it today. There's a lot of players on the injury report. Eric, the new single Eric, I should actually point out after what happened on the last show. First of all, how are you doing today? How are you enjoying the single man life? And what do you make of today's slate?
Yeah, just going to be out and about the town, hanging out with fair ladies, trying to get over it. But, such is life. I'll be okay. I'll find a way to bounce back. But she got all her important documents. That's what really matters. I was able to get the blunt end of the truth. I'm going to find a way around it here today. I'm going to find a way.
Yeah. Hey, look, she left you the Prize Picks t-shirts, which I think is what is most important. And, if you guys want to make some money on Prize Picks and maybe be as fancy as Eric, where you get some t-shirts and whatnot.
If other sponsors want to send me stuff, I will wear it. I am from the Midwest, the land of loving free stuff. Yes, Tyler, we should get producer Tyler some free stuff too. But that also requires that you willingly want to work every single day. Correct, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm against giving Tyler free stuff. I don't want him to get full of himself. Yes. But if you guys want free stuff, you sign up using the promo code Awesemo, get up to $100 bonus on your first deposit and get yourself 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Free stuff for everybody. Now, Eric, this NBA slate for today, the most recent news we got is, we do have Tyler Hero now officially ruled out for the Heat today. Guys that are still in the injury report: SGA, questionable. Karl-Anthony Towns, questionable. Wendell Carter Jr., questionable. Bogdan Bogdanovic, questionable. Horton Tucker, questionable. One that wouldn't really matter, but it does today because LeBron James is out for the Lakers. How are you going to be approaching your lineups today when we have so much value and so many players still on the injury report?
Do people understand how important Talen Horton Tucker news is? Because you're talking about this entire team being under pressure. Of course, Russell Westbrook's a problem, but just in general, he's been a problem this year for the Lakers. He's a problem for me today, but his absence opens up more confidence for me in a Wenyon Gabriel, which sounds ridiculous on this slate because there's so much better value. But for the most part, if you want to get some really, really low-owned pieces, you could get them with the Lakers in their current situation here. I mean, I'm not talking about Carmelo Anthony and whatever else. By the way, navigating everything, getting used to it over on the old Fantasy Cruncher. Appreciate them, always forward thinking and trying to make their product better, but taking a little bit of navigation here for me. But a guy like Malik Monk, I don't think we really need to necessarily be going there as much. If you get a Talen Horton Tucker in there, but I mean, it's not like there's any swappability. There's really not that much. I don't see a lot I want to get to from Portland, San Antonio. That game's an hour and a half after the last really batch of value there in Dallas. So I'm going to try to hold off a little bit for some of that news to get some clarity there. It's not like I'm going to roster any of these other scrubs on this slate, but at least give me more confidence in Gabriel, Malik Monk, and for sure Carmelo Anthony, who's going to be a good play regardless. But just looking at that situation, I would love to get some clarity before the 8:30 p.m. tip of that Dallas game.
Yeah, and it's also more reason for you guys to stick around for that last 30-minute time slot because there's going to be a lot of news that probably is going to come out on this slate in between. But since we start with the guard position, I want to ask you right away about Russell Westbrook, because not only is LeBron James out and is Russell Westbrook, somewhat inexpensive, at least compared to where we've typically seen him priced for DFS. He's $8,200 on FanDuel and not picking up ownership right now, projected to be in 11% of the field's lineups. Over on DraftKings, a little bit more expensive at $8,800. Once again, though, if you told me $8,800 in the past for Russell Westbrook without any other stars on the team, we'd be like, what's wrong with the pricing algorithm? Today, not only is he $8,800 on DK, but people are only playing him in 7% of lineups. How are you going to be handling Westbrook?
I have too much of him. I have a lot of him. I don't know how you don't. It's not like this guy hasn't been performing on a permanent basis this season, and now the opportunity presents itself for him to go out and chuck and try to win a basketball game and do all of those things. Are they going to actually win this? I don't think so. They're 9-point dogs. I don't see a whole lot there. I'm just overwhelmed. There's some things that are just happening constantly throughout this slate. It's going to happen throughout the show. I'm going to stay poised. I'm going to stay focused for you. But yes, doubtful. Russell Westbrook is a guy. Doubtful. No, Jalen Smith is out. That's the correct way of saying it. And that came out of nowhere. And that's just, I thought I just got all my Pacers stuff updated. I do not have all my Pacers stuff updated. Holy mother of God, this team.
Yeah, never. So This is also this. Are you playing on like every slate again today?
Yes. Well,
Oh
not
my
only that,
God,
but we have the
insane
Awesemo
person.
exclusive over on Yahoo. So if you want to check out the Awesemo Slate Starter exclusive tournament that I have with Rinpack, we are hosting that. So happy. I think it's just about filled. Only a couple entries, I believe, that are left over there. Hop on in, play against us, win stuff. It's really great payout structure, really low rake. We would enjoy if you did that.
Yeah, so that is certainly something good to check out. But for the love of God, Eric, do you have to play on 80 different DFS sites on an 11-game slate where there's a million players on the injury report? I just want you to get your lineups uploaded in time, and you're going to make this difficult on yourself.
Oh, yeah.
The way you're approaching this. But
here's the thing, though. But when you reserve the lineups, like it's more difficult for me to go in and send the email to be like, take it off of this site or whatever else at this point. No, it's more difficult. And so, yes, DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, Prize Picks, all four. Let's ride.
All right. So Eric's an insane person. He plays on every DFS site possible. At least he's not, EMAC, who's playing on every DFS sport and is also playing, whatever esports games and
slates.
Whatever. Yeah. Like, no, there's an Express PGA slate. Like, I didn't even know they play golf at night. You got to play DFS for it. EMAC every slate. But now one of the reasons that I think it's going to be difficult to manage lineups for this slate is just the amount of injury news that's going to come pouring in. And the one we just got here is that Jalen Smith is not going to be playing today, which is news that kind of came out of nowhere. And let's look at the Pacers injury report as a whole, and then we could react to what this news means, because Chris Duarte is out, Jalen Smith is out, Malcolm Brogdon is out, and that comes in addition to the mainstays on the injury report, Miles Turner, Ricky Rubio, and TJ McConnell. So this is a really thin Pacers team going up against a Kings team, which is a positive matchup, expected to be a really high scoring game. What are you going to be doing with the Pacers now that there is no Jalen Smith as well?
I will be rostering them.
Which one?
I was kidding. Isaiah Jackson is definitely the first guy that, him and O'Shea Brissett, like, I didn't really know what I was going to extract outside of Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton. Isaiah Jackson was already a good play. Now he's like an elite beyond elite play. Jalen Smith's been playing this backup role and been playing a ton of minutes behind him here. I want to see this starting lineup because there's an outside chance too that Goga could end up getting some kind of a start here as well alongside these guys, O'Shea Brissett, Isaiah Jackson. I don't think it's likely. I think you could get a Terry Taylor, Dwayne Washington kind of sighting here in this spot, but they are a short-handed basketball team. This is really kind of a messy situation. Justin Anderson started the last game. Perhaps he just continues to start there. Goga comes off the bench and whatever else. But Isaiah Jackson, his minutes just became so short up that it is going to be hard for me to get away from playing a ton of him. 5,400 over on FanDuel specifically just becomes an elite play. I think at 5,800 on DK as well. I think he was already a decent play over there. Had him for 24 and a half minutes. If I put him at like 28, he's going to show up in a ton of lineups. We'll see what happens with the field because there are so many good plays. But I will say, guard is stacked top to bottom. I'm more willing to try to jam some of these guys who are elite forward plays. He's a guy who can get foul happy. The minutes can be fluctuated. So again, there's nobody on this slate that I'm going to be playing 55% of even. I think I'm going to get a lot of guys like the Tyus Jones and the Obi Toppins. I'm going to get exposure to all of them in bulk. But because there's so many good plays, I think just Isaiah Jackson leaps into that kind of conversation as one of the best.
A guy who's really throwing a wrench into this is I'm just kind of looking through the Pacers now. Justin Anderson, who's kind of a fringe NBA player for whatever reason. I don't know if you've noticed this. Justin Anderson, out of sight, out of mind. I never think about this guy. Somehow, every single season, we get into the last 3 weeks of the season, and Justin Anderson ends up on some terrible team on 10-day contracts, and he's starting and playing 35 minutes. Look at the minutes that Justin Anderson played last game. So the last time the Pacers played, he got a spot start against the Portland Trailblazers. He played 36 minutes and put up 34 fantasy points. I am finding it hard to not project him fairly well.
Agreed. I find it hard not to project him out well, so long as he's starting. We're going to get that starting lineup. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to have plenty of time to be able to kind of adjust what we need to do with our lineups on that news. It is so gigantic, and I could see them doing a number of different things. Now, if Justin Anderson is not in it, plays 0%. But in the event that he is starting there, we just saw too many minutes. And plus, he plays like the position that they need help at. They've shown a propensity to just not play Lance Stevenson to any kind of certain extent. He played 27 minutes against Portland, but they blew them absolutely out of the water. Justin Anderson played a majority of that game, 36 minutes. I'm with you. I think he becomes a guy that I would want to get to in that kind of an event. But even like a Dwayne Washington, I mean, we just see this team so shorthanded. It's such a good game environment. You can mix and match a number of these guys. Even O'Shea Brissett hasn't been exactly the fantasy producer that we were asking for last year, but 0.82 here on the season. I mean, I've got him projected north of 30 minutes now. I mean, this is another guy that can just show up in a lot of lineups. So I can't imagine I'm going to get to any player or any team more than like 2 or maximum 3 for sure, just because of how many spots there are to go on this slate. But like, I could see myself playing 5 or 6 different Pacers.
Yeah, this news, because I just kind of did a ballpark given guys some minutes. I'm assuming Justin Anderson starts right now. He pretty quickly becomes a top value play for me. Here's the trickle down effect: is this has cut into, because I just ran another crunch with Justin Anderson in it. Mm-hmm. This cut into my exposure to Carmelo Anthony by a decent amount. If you had to pick one to play more of, this is more of a personal question. Carmelo Anthony or Justin Anderson, who are you going with?
Can I plead the fifth and just not answer that? I mean, the thing is that they're just completely different price points. I mean, it's like day and night, and we get all of this value that exists throughout this slate, but still 3,100 for him goes a lot further on a site like DraftKings than going to Carmelo Anthony in bulk, especially with that kind of waiting in the wings, the Taylor Horton Tucker news, which kind of affects a little bit of everybody. It's a guy that when he does get minutes, he kind of affects everybody down the line. And we've seen 31, 30, 27 minutes from him in 3 of the last 6 games, some of those with some missing pieces. But for the most part, when he shows up and he plays some of these extended minutes, he's a problem for what he affects, both Russell Westbrook. I mean, obviously he'll take away some minutes from the likes of a Malik Monk, Carmelo Anthony, Wenyon Gabriel. Everybody's a little bit affected. So I would like to get him out. But if we don't get that news before lock, which I'm assuming we don't, how could you not like Justin Anderson more?
Yeah, and shout out to, by the way, Caleb in the chat who's saying, who else played Justin Anderson last year? We went 0 for 12 from 3.
I did.
Yeah,
Dallas,
all of us did. He was massive chalk on that. It's a very obscure game to remember, but once again, Justin Anderson, a guy who has no DFS relevance every year, the entire season, but somehow enters into our lives for the final 3 weeks of the season.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
That's one of my favorite quick sound clips.
It's the greatest.
I like that we've got that in, Tyler, because it's one of those things we don't have to worry about copyright. We don't have to worry about movies. But all right, we've covered the Pacers situation, I think, in totality here. Do you have anything else you want to add from here? If not, we'll just go back to talk about guards.
Well, let's party, because there's a lot of them.
All right, so we can't talk about every individual play that we're going to be rostering today. 11 game slate. There's a lot of good points per dollar play. So let's try to focus on our favorite plays at each position. And at guard, who are the players you're prioritizing?
I'm Tyus Jones. Let's have the Tyus Jones talk.
Mm-hmm.
He is phenomenal, but there is one thing that it just kind of exists, and you got to have in the back of your mind about this. There are so many good guard plays. That's why he's only 30%. If this was like a 4-game slate with just kind of a random assortment, like a neutral amount of value, Tyus Jones would be 75% owned. So if you want to play 75% of Tyus Jones, go right ahead. He's the one guy out of anybody else on this entire slate that I think is lock and load value, even more so than an Obi Toppin, who, it's on a back-to-back. It's Tibbs. He was in foul trouble last night. He got a foul like the 2:23 mark as I was watching that game. And all of a sudden, problematic for him. He ended up not being able to get up back on the floor for quite a while there. He's still a fantastic piece of value there. Forward, there's less value. But that's just making the ownership concentrate around him a little bit more. So I'm more willing to say that if there's one guy that I'm just going to go over the field on this slate, I'm comfortable saying that it would be Tyus Jones, even though I'm only getting to him in about 40% of lineups, purely because on DraftKings specifically, I have so many good guard plays that I just want to get to a lot of guys.
I'm going to refresh some of the ownership here and just make sure I'm looking at the most recent data as this is updating. Somebody I already know is going to be popular, and here we go. Now it's populated for me. Spencer Dinwiddie. He's somebody who I feel probably equal to him about what you feel about Tyus Jones. Just an unavoidable piece of chalk without Luka Doncic there. I don't know what the hell they did to Spencer Dinwiddie over in Washington that made him just not be a good fantasy player, a good real life player. Totally different outlook on him. now that he's come over to Dallas, even alongside Luka. We've seen some big games from Dinwiddie. Now there's no Luka, so it's going to be a lot of Dinwiddie, a lot of Jaylen Brunson in the front court. I think both of them are good options, although I prefer Dinwiddie to Brunson. How are you going to be handling the split between those two?
See, that's what I'm getting. I think the public sentiment is more Dinwiddie than Brunson. And as a result, I think I'm going to get to a little bit more Brunson. I think 6,700 is pretty, like the $300 difference between those two is pretty negligible for me. Like I don't really see that big of a difference. So 21% Brunson, I'm getting to around 36% of Brunson. He's my second highest owned guard currently in my lineups. Now I'm still kind of rerunning some Indiana stuff. I doubt there's any guard that really shows up in a meaningful way, but it might cut some of the ownership from certain guys if I get to more forwards in that mid-range from Indiana. But I think he's just a guy that makes sense just as a swapping of him and Spencer Dinwiddie. Yeah, is 6,400 that big of a difference? The $300 you're going to save? I say no on this slate. That makes me a little bit more comfortable to just kind of target Brunson, play 36% of him. I'm still going to have Spencer Dinwiddie just a little bit under that 39% number.
All right, as we're talking through guards, we do have a question in our premium Discord channel from Jets World asking a question about some guards here. It's a 2v2. He is asking us, whoops, I accidentally closed it. Where was it? God, it was Discord closed on me while I was bringing up the question. So I'm reading it off and here we go. All right. He is asking, and Wendell Carter Jr. just rolled out. We'll hit on that in a sec. Good. Jets World's question, Davion Mitchell and Russell Westbrook or Damian Jones and Tyrese Halliburton? Which side do you prefer?
Where is this at?
In Discord.
Oh, in Discord. Oh, that's why. I have the YouTube up. Say it to me one more time. I apologize.
Davion Mitchell and Russell Westbrook or Damian Jones and Tyrese Halliburton?
The first one. And it makes me feel really, really nauseous. Tyrese Halliburton's a good play, don't get me wrong, but Russell Westbrook, people just don't want to roster him. That makes me want to roster him in this kind of a spot. I'm just going to get over the field on Russell Westbrook. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel even remotely good about it, but it's the right play. Tyrese Halliburton's 4% currently on DK. I expect that's going to come up a little bit. We'll see. But I don't feel that confident. Like Damian Jones is a guy that went out and played a ton of minutes, even in that spot where you didn't have Sabonis, and it ended up being Alex Len getting the start. You saw Damian Jones play a lot of minutes behind. That was pretty wonky to me. I just don't know if Damian Jones is a guy that I feel that confident in as a like go-to play, a ton of him at chalk kind of play. I'll go with the Russell Westbrook side.
Yeah, it's close. I actually like both combinations. I don't have an issue with either of them. I'll lean towards the Westbrook side as well, but I think you've got two good combinations there, Jets World, and I don't really have an issue with either one. Let's hit on the other piece of news we just got. And can we stop with the news? We've got enough value. We don't need any more. Chill, NBA. Orlando Magic, Wendell Carter Jr. will not play tonight. In addition, Markelle Fultz is out. Jalen Suggs is out. So we knew there was going to be some sort of open opportunities in the backcourt. Now the front court as well with Wendell Carter Jr. out. How are you going to be handling this one?
Yeah, this is going to be uncomfortable as well. I mean, there's just enough value here that if you don't want to tango with a ton of everything, so be it. But I think Mo Wagner becomes somebody that I want to get to at 4K. We've seen him play 29 minutes, 22 minutes, pretty serviceable fantasy outcomes there. I think the big key for me too is I'm very, very high on Joel Embiid at the center spot. Mo Bamba, he's 5,600 over on DraftKings. It's not like you're getting him free here. I feel more confident going to a little bit of Mo Wagner here for cheaper. Do you have any kind of a lean between those two? Which one do you want to play more?
Between Mo Wagner and
Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba.
Yeah.
I actually can I tell you it's a completely different name?
Chuma Okeke.
Yeah, Chuma Okeke.
Yeah, that's I'm okay with him too.
Yeah, so Okeke's the one I assume I'm going to end up getting the most of. He's played really well in some of his spot starts this year, just really significant upside. Overall this year, 12 starts, 30 minutes per game, 27 fantasy points in those starts. But it's really some of those upside games we've seen from him, a handful over 30. We've seen him score as many as 53 fantasy points in a start. If I remember, there was a crazy amount of defensive stats in that game, so it was a little fluky. But either way, there's a significant amount of upside there, and Okeke is pretty reasonably priced. If I remember his salary off the top of my head, hard to not like the matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okeke is $4,200 on DraftKings, and on FanDuel, he is $4,500. That's going to be my favorite piece from the Magic.
Okay. Yeah, he's a great play. I'm just kind of updating everything as we're talking through it. I'm looking at the center spot, specifically kind of like Mo Bamba, because we know he can be such a good fantasy asset from time to time. The minutes have been so weird, and Mo Wagner's now started to play quite a bit in this rotation. For whatever reason, that just kind of makes me a little bit more confident in him. Mo Bamba's 4,500 though over on FanDuel. That's going to be an uncomfortable piece, how much I might get to him over on that side here. But Chuma Okeke, I've always been high on him. Kid out of Auburn that's just a really, really good basketball player. And, maybe doesn't always show up in fantasy standpoint, but it's gone up since for quite a while now. 0.9. It's not like it's negligible. As you said, he's played well in these spot starts. There's been some weekend slates. I can't remember exactly when, but I've been very, very high on him where he could be a little contrarian. I do not mind that shout out at all.
All right. So now let's move on and hit on another question we have here in Discord chat is we just got news that Jericho Sims is going to be starting at center for the Knicks. That's not going to move all that much for me. I know that we have, or just not that what Jericho Sims expected to start for the Knicks, but we have a question from Ship My Benjamin is asking just what is our overall opinion on Jericho Sims, assuming he starts for the Knicks? By the way, we did actually just get word that he is going to be starting, but yeah. So with Jericho Sims, I think there's reason to think there's some upside here. There's just much better value plays on the slate, I think.
Yeah, he's a 0.69 FanDuel points per minute player on the season. That's just kind of abysmally low for a center. It kind of falls into the Taj Gibson type play. I mean, it's kind of the same guy, same role that they fill. I mean, Taj Gibson can step out and hit a shot once in a while there as well, but that's not Jericho Sims. Jericho Sims is a body on a floor there to try to just clog a lane and exist. Against Charlotte, I can't imagine that he's going to play anything north of 25 minutes. I think it's going to be a split between him and Taj Gibson, basically for those center minutes. That just makes him pretty unappealing on a slate where there's just such good value. And my center spot, I think, is pretty short up with that top end Joel Embiid play. So I'm going to be playing a lot of him. I'm going to play a lot of Cat so long as he's good to go. I think there's just a lot of guys that I would rather pay up for there because I have so much guard value that I like, so many forwards that you can play, especially now that we have some value from Orlando. Just more things that are more applicable for me to pay up at center. I don't think Jericho Sims needs to be a meaningful part of your lineups.
We've got some super chats in on. First, let's get this one out of the way. Miami Mike. Hello, Eric.
I'm not going to do it if you don't want me to. I wouldn't do that.
He's paid.
Michael, Greg hates this bit so much. You have saved your pathetic life.
Whatever. Tyler, you know what? I'm over you.
Hit it one more time, Tyler. One more time.
26 minutes to go. We got to go.
One more time. No, Tyler, hit one more time. He needs to be booed.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm getting divorced and now this. Stop it.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Super chat from Skylar Barnyard. Booker and Brissett or Westbrook and Isaiah Jackson? Westbrook and Isaiah Jackson.
Westbrook and Isaiah Jackson. Like, I love those two plays today.
And all right, scrolling through, just making sure we get all these super chats here. Next one, Gabriel Meffrin playing 10 lineups on FanDuel, 100% Embiid. You dig?
No.
In 10 lineups, I don't have an issue with it. I think he's the best center option on the slate. There's a lot of value at other positions. 100% is maybe a little much for me, though.
Yes, it's a no from me. I love Joel Embiid. He's one of my favorite spend ups because I projected for north of 60 fantasy points. I have unlimited value. But there's still Kevin Durant, Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, James Harden on this same team for Embiid. If I was going to lock button one play at the top end, it would be Joel Embiid because of positionality, because of how much I like spending up for him. But I don't think 100% of anybody. I talked about this at the get-go. You shouldn't play 100% of anybody today, even in probably 10 lineups. I would go maybe in the 8-9 category if you really wanted to take an aggressive stand, but mix it up a little bit with the rest of your core.
We have a super chat here from Rozo Music. This is a question about DK tiers. He asked Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Halliburton, Wendell Carter Jr. He's out. Don't have to consider him, or LaMelo Ball. It is Halliburton for me amongst that group.
Halliburton. That's cool. Ryan Redabum, was that serious or a joke? What do you mean? What's a joke? Can you dig? I don't. What are we talking about here? I didn't do anything. I mean, it's a bit. It's a Miami.
No. He's asking. He's asking about how I asked the question to you. I was just that was what it said in the super chat. Super chat from Gabriel Meffrin said playing 10 lineups on FanDuel, 100% Embiid. You dig? That was the question. Read it off.
There you go. And now we move on with our day.
And we are all caught up. Oh, no, one more question here from Jets World again. Tyus Jones and Halliburton in a okay, never mind. It was a 2v2. Davion Mitchell and Westbrook or Tyus Jones and Halliburton. I prefer the Tyus Jones and Halliburton combination of those
Agreed.
two.
Yeah, I'm getting to a little bit more Tyrese Halliburton here. Is there a site attached to it? I guess it doesn't matter. I like the second one more.
It was DraftKings.
Yeah, DraftKings. I like that more. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton 7,900 on FanDuel, and I'm getting to like an uncomfortable amount.
Next super chat here is from Gray. Just Gray, that's his name. Rank the studs on FanDuel. Are Kings less of a priority now? Less of a priority than what?
Yeah, I mean, Davion Mitchell's a quote-unquote priority. Davion Mitchell's a guy that I've just liked in a lot of these spots. Trey Lyles is a good play. Dante DiVincenzo is a good play. Damian Jones is probably fringing on a great play. But is anybody an absolute must on this slate? No, because there's 10 other games outside of Sacramento, Indiana, and you've got so many other places that you can land on value. Not a single play is like you cannot live without playing this play, which is a weird thing to say. That's kind of why I'm leaning on more Embiid than anything else, because I just project him out for the most fantasy points by quite a bit on this slate. And therefore, at the position he's at as well, it's hard for me not to be pretty aggressive with him compared to everything else. But like legitimately, you have so many guards from Dallas. You have so many pieces from New York. You have so many pieces from Sacramento, just to name a few right off the top of my head. Indianapolis now. So Indiana's a great play. You've got Tyus Jones and all of Memphis. I mean, these are so many situations. We got to just keep it rolling.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that at all. We caught up now. Yeah, okay. No, another super chat just came in. No, it's the same one. All right, so let's go back and just kind of recap the guards here. Is there anybody that's a really high priority for at guard that we've not yet talked about?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just got ruled out. Trey Mann might be a good play now, coming off of his annihilation of a slate alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, it's just an Orlando team that is bottom 10 in defensive efficiency, bottom 10 in terms of, or top 10 in terms of pace. Like, it's just an Orlando team that's not very defensively efficient is what I'm getting at. And I just look at OKC. Trey Mann, 5,200 for him. There's going to be a guy that now we can play a little bit more of. I don't know if I really want to land on a ton of Wiggins, but like Pokusevski might jump into the realm of playable here as well. They're going to need somebody out there creating. I mean, Trey Mann is the obvious priority. Teo Maledon becomes playable now at 3,300, but I mean, there's better, more secure plays, but I think he'll just be lower owned with half an hour to go. That doesn't lock for another, 2 hours or hour and a half until the Orlando OKC game. But hey, Trey Mann, I didn't expect to see you here.
Yeah, and I'm just going to pull up some of the Oklahoma City rates here when we get SGA off the court. Once again, we didn't need more value. We got the value. We got something we didn't ask for here. OKC this year. Actually, these numbers looking at the are just, I don't even know. There's so many players who are out for this team. Like, what do you even make of it? Because, all right, now I have to take Josh Giddey off too. Forgot about him. All right, so let's take SGA and Josh Giddey off. The top fantasy producers on the team. All right, well, then it's Lou Dort. Yeah, all this is nonsense. It's like, who leads the team in usage when you take these players out? It's like, oh, Lou Dort. Oh, who else after him? Oh, Ty Jerome. Then I take everybody off.
You know
the court
who
and
it's
no
not?
sample
Lindy
size.
Waters is not the answer to our problems here. That's not the answer.
Let's see if I just keep taking off the players that are out. All right, let's take Ty Jerome and Lou Dort. It's going to end up being like 5-minute sample size.
Goody.
All right, so no SGA, Ty Jerome, Lou Dort, or Josh Giddey on the court. We have Trey Mann leads the team in usage 30.6%, Pokusevski 25.9%. You know, I get that I guess Maledon's another guy that we have to consider here also, but Trey Mann is $6,500 on FanDuel. He is $52 on DK. The FanDuel price point's a little steep. Lower priority option on DK, but I still think he's somebody that's worth getting to. Here's the issue, though. We have so many guys to play now. I think he projects fairly comparably to like a Tyus Jones, but Tyus Jones is a little bit less expensive. How much Trey Mann do you think you're going to get to here?
I mean, DK is going to be different than FanDuel. FanDuel is, all of these guys were egregious. I already told myself I have a sticky note next to my desk that literally says, don't play OKC on FanDuel. I might play some Isaiah Roby on FanDuel at 3,900. I'm going to break my rules already. Pokusevski, I'm probably going to play, so I'm going to break it even more. But Darius Baisley probably in the conversation now too, but Trey Mann, no. 6,500. I don't need to do that. I'm not going to look at the box score and just say, oh, finally he scored over 45 fantasy points. And it's just not a necessary guy on this slate. He'll be low owned. That's the nicest thing I can say about him. But DraftKings is where you really want to get to Trey Mann. 5,200, I believe the tag, if it would stop spinning over here for me. But yes, I know 5,200 is the tag number. So I will get to some there.
All right. We've got some super chats to hit on now. The chat is moving quick. Let's see. Where did that one go? It was, here we go. From our guy, Uzi Azazov. Thoughts on Jakob Poeltl? If he gets to 30 minutes, he smashes FanDuel. No. I think there's a... let's see. Where do I have Jakob Poeltl right now? I have Poeltl in... Like, Joel Embiid's still my favorite center option. Jakob Poeltl, I have... Actually, I like Jakob Poeltl quite a bit as I'm looking through my lineups now.
In my lineups, yeah.
Yeah. So my favorite center option, we're just talking about guys that are only center eligible. Number one is Embiid, but I actually do have Poeltl as my second most exposed center right now in my FanDuel build. So, yep, I think this is a really good spot for Poeltl. This Portland Trailblazers team is absolutely terrible. I was talking about this with Waffy earlier about worst teams that we've ever seen play on a court. I think this team right now that Portland is throwing out there is worse than the 10-win team that the Philadelphia 76ers had from 2015.
Yeah, so my three highest owned centers go like this. Joel Embiid by a landslide, almost 50% of lineups on FanDuel. That is my highest owned player on FanDuel. Karl Anthony Towns is number two, just because I think that you have the unlimited ability to get up to him there. I love the questionable tag. I love if anybody wants to be concerned. I mean, Minnesota is only a 1-point dog at home to Phoenix. I need a smoke break. I'm so happy right now. But like Jakob Poeltl, 6,200, number three there, 22% of lineups on FanDuel. Those are really the only three centers that I'm getting to in any kind of a major way on the blue site.
Yeah. Oh, look at you using some terminology from Terry, calling it the blue site.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shout out to our hardest working colleague in the game, Terry McBride.
By the way, I'm updating some of the OKC stuff now. By the way, for anybody who's having issues with Fantasy Cruncher, refresh it. And
it's good now.
Yeah, it should be good now. I am going to be getting to more of Trey Mann than I had anticipated.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal play on DraftKings.
Yeah, I thought I thought I was just going to like Tyus Jones more. It's not going to be the case. I prefer Trey Mann to Tyus Jones now.
Whoa, Kyrie Irving will be cleared to play in home games.
We've heard... I mean, it seems like that's been coming. I'll believe it when I see it, though. We've gotten that report from Woj like 3 times this year, and it hasn't been true any of those times. There's also another effect here, which is for baseball season about to start. I thought there was some consideration of betting unders for players like Aaron Judge, who isn't vaccinated, that might not have been able to play in home games. Now looks like he's going to be able to. But yeah,
he won't go to Canada, though, right?
Not yeah, but I mean, they're going to play what?
3
games
series maybe
in Toronto or something like that. So it's not enough that's going to impact his totals or anything for the year. But yeah, I want to circle back on that. Trey Mann is somebody I like a lot. I know you were really high on Tyus Jones before. Do you think you're going to get some more exposure to Trey Mann or Tyus Jones now?
I'm going to get to more Tyus Jones still. I feel more comfortable with Tyus Jones. My thing is that, do you think there's going to be an ownership discount? I mean, Tyus Jones is $4,600, so I'm saving $600 as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, Trey Mann, I'm projecting for a little bit more than Tyus Jones. Maybe I just need to kind of take that into consideration. Let me refresh. Let me run this. I've got 235 lineups on the DraftKings.com today.
Your voice cracked when you said that.
Yeah, because I'm just a little
235. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
There's going to be a day I just don't show up to work, and you're going to have to deal. Well, somebody will just fill in for me, so it's sad. But you know what I mean. You're going to miss me. You're going to miss me when I'm gone.
Make no. I'm very. I'm more than aware that I'm replaceable. Also, both of us are.
Okay, good.
So don't think that you're alone in this.
It wasn't as good as Divorce Papers, but everything else is pretty close. I think. All right, I'm just hitting crunch. Why? Not enough players to fill position. What did I do? I didn't do anything wrong, did I?
Yeah,
I had to have done something wrong. I'm going to figure it out. Get back to me here in a second.
All right, we've got some super chats to hit on here. First from Josh Allen. Look at him, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. It's even his profile picture. It's almost certainly the same guy. Internet don't lie. Trae Young and Kuminga or Westbrook and Isaiah Jackson.
Westbrook and Isaiah Jackson.
I like Trae Young a lot today.
I like Trae Young a lot too, but you can't recommend everybody. And I feel like I've already flag planted Russell Westbrook. And so I need to like speak it into existence for once, and not against Houston. This is a little bit different. Matisse Thybulle defense. What am I doing today? What am I doing with my life? Playing Russell Westbrook on an 11-game slate where I can play anybody.
Super chat from Gigi. I think I pronounced that correctly. Is Giygiyiy. DJ Augustine questionable? Question mark. No.
DJ Augustine is the very last human being on planet Earth that I would play today.
My filler arc. Last man in, only few salary left. So Caleb Martin, Charlotte, or Reeves, LA, or Josh Green, Dallas.
Did somebody just say they're going to play Austin Reeves today?
There's better options than this, Mr. Filler arc. Better options.
Don't get cute. It's an 11-game slate. We have guys that are projected for like 7, 8x, and Austin Reeves ain't one of them. Don't play Austin Reeves just because there's no LeBron. I don't know what else to say. Don't do it.
Yeah, there's better options on the slate. Let's see. So he's looking at min price. I assume he needs somebody that's min price, flat min. Who is your favorite play at the flat min at any position?
The flat min at any position. Justin Holiday was close over on FanDuel earlier. I was getting to some of him, I think. Let me just sort it again. Getting used to this over here. It is going to take a second. Let's look over at FanDuel here again. I mean, Topin is now 3,500 over there. He's probably the clear cut best play, but I'm trying to give somebody different because that feels like a cop out answer.
That's favorite be the flat min 3,000.
Oh, flat min on DK. Okay,
yes.
So DK, not on FanDuel. I was talking.
Yeah, I think
Topin
so.
Anyway. 3,500. He's the flat min on FanDuel, I believe, right? Yeah, he is 3,500 because for whatever reason, his price went down. Riddle me that, Batman. Riddle me that. Flat 3. My first guy I have in my projections at flat 3 is Trey Burke.
Yeah, just don't play those dudes. There's so much value on the slate. You don't need to jam in somebody at min price.
Goga starting.
All right, so let's hit. Oh, and by the way, Justin Anderson starting now as well. Let's go.
I had so much Goga on DraftKings. With 21 minutes to go, people are not going to get to Goga the way that they should. Get some Goga in your life. I have 34%. I was waiting to talk about it at center because I just had a feeling he would start, but it was just like, I don't want to just throw it out there. He's starting. That feels nice.
Is it too early to start tilting Justin Anderson?
Is it too? Oh God, we're going to be tilting Justin Anderson. We're going to tilt this entire starting 5. I mean, it's not like Halliburton's free. Hield's way expensive, but it's a revenge spot. I'm expecting if I had single game parlays out here in California, I would smash the Buddy Hield 3-point prop to like infinity today because he could chuck it. He might attempt 23s today. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton setting the table, a bunch of guys who don't like to shoot the ball and have no usage out there. I mean, Anderson is a great play, Brissett and Batadze, but like the guy who's going to be chucking is Buddy Hield.
I mean, it could be Justin Anderson too. We talked about the game. He went 0 for 12 from 3 in a game. Do you know how confident you have to be to go 0 for 12 from 3 in a game? I know it sucks, but the level of
Corey Brewer, like Corey Brewer would do that back in the day.
Nah, but he was never a high usage guy.
No,
like, to be a bad enough shooter and to have the confidence to keep chucking, this seems dumb. But the fact that he's willing to go 0 for 12 from 3 makes me want to roster more in DFS. He's going to play for our lineups.
All right, everybody's saying Isaiah Jackson isn't starting. I don't care. He's still a great play too. Not the best play because I think people are still going to be on him. There's 20 minutes to go before lock of that game. People have been talking about him like us right now. This is where you have to just get really quick at being able to say, all right, I'm going to have a little less Isaiah Jackson and I'm going to jam Goga. Like getting to more Goga is so prudent on a slate where center was the weakest position by far. I don't think it's like remotely close. It was all Embiid. Like it was just play a ton of Embiid. Goga immediately becomes a guy on DraftKings at 5K that I just want to get to way more than I was expecting even. Like I might get to 45% of him.
I mean, I really like Goga now, and it's not anything more complicated than he's a good points per minute producer. He's cheap, and now he's starting.
Those are all good things.
Yeah. We got another super chat here from Boney SP4. FanDuel single entry, Kyrie or KD?
Kyrie or KD. Single entry. Think about how good guard is. Kevin Durant is a spend up at a forward option. He wins by default.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. I'm not playing much of either of them. Are you?
No, but I'm saying that by default, if you're giving me the either or, I'm going to take the spend up at forward.
Yeah, and I understand. I'm just saying in general, I didn't get too much of either of them, and I was just kind of curious if it was the same for you.
Yep, not getting to a whole lot.
All right, so Goga. I would like to be getting to more of Goga than I am. I guess
62% in my last run as I updated it.
And
might
is
be
that
my highest owned player.
FanDuel or DK?
DK, 5K. FanDuel, I was just updating that. Let me just say, pretty uncomfortable looking at his tag over on FanDuel if I'm looking at this correctly. Yeah. Am I 6,200? Doesn't feel good, but guess what? He's still playable. He's just not a great play at that number. It's a DK 5K number. That's where I want to play a lot of him.
This slate, here's the issue is I'm rerunning my lineups. I want to play so many guys today, and I just can't.
Yeah. And that's why, but at center, he's so much more valuable than he is at guard or forward. I mean, the thing is, we have 40 million plays there. Center, I have Embiid and Cat. Who else did you like at center?
I like Bam. We've got Damian Jones. I like Damian Jones. I like Baisley with center eligibility now. With all the usage it's opened up in OKC. Melo has center eligibility for no reason at all on DraftKings. So there's a lot of players. And then, of course, Joel Embiid. I can't remember if I said his name before. But, yeah, there's a lot of guys that I want to get exposure to here. And I have double-digit exposure to Goga, but I thought, oh, my God, I'm going to be playing, 50% Goga. And that just didn't end up being the case for me, mostly because...
How many minutes did you give him?
Let's see. So Goga, I have for 25 minutes.
Oh, I have him for 27. So there you go. I'm going to get to more of them.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I still think we're going to see Isaiah Jackson play a bunch of center minutes. I think Terry Taylor probably plays some center minutes. And I don't envision Goga playing alongside Isaiah Jackson, or else they would have just started him. So we'll see. We've got more questions to get to here in our premium Discord channel. I always think to call it Slack, but not Slack anymore. Healed and Poole. This is from Jets World again. Healed or Poole on DK, Justin Anderson or Damian Jones on DK. I prefer Poole to Healed, and I prefer Justin Anderson to Damian Jones. How about you?
You prefer Poole. I love Poole just for tournament's sake. And he's just, who else is going to be doing anything for that basketball team in the absence of Steph and Clay? It's going to be Jordan Poole. So I think that he's a great play, even against a Miami team. Do not shy away. Do not shy away. I'm just fine firing him up there. But compared to Healed, it's uncomfortable. I'm going to get to a lot more Goga, a lot more Tyrese Halliburton comparatively. I really, as I said, I think Buddy Hield is actually, I'll actually go the Buddy Hield side. I'll play devil's advocate, but only slightly, because I do like both those plays just to get a little bit different. And then the other one, Damian Jones, is the better play.
All right. We've got another super chat here from Nelson Resto. Any love for Harrison Barnes? That is no for me. I understand all the usage that's available to him with Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox out. I'm starting to get a little concerned what his minutes are going to look like, though, because this is a team that's clearly tanking now. They are not playing to win. Are they really going to go play Harrison Barnes 36 minutes? Maybe. I tend to think, though, that it's a little more risky than what other people might think. So there's other plays I prefer on the slate. I have a small amount of exposure to Harrison Barnes, but love is pretty strong.
Yeah, I have 12% of him. So, I mean, he's 14.6% on DK. There is an eternal amount of opportunity. So if he's going to hit an upside, he's going to hit it now. So I get it, but he also isn't exactly, 4K like so many other plays that we have on this slate. So if I'm going to be paying 5K for 5,500 for Harrison Barnes on DK, there's just so many better guards, so many other guys, 5K Goga now. I mean, just so many other guys that are cheaper that have explicit, like a better path to more upside than Harrison Barnes does, especially because, he played 41 minutes against the Suns last game, but that is not going to be the norm. That is going to be the exception.
All right. Let's try to hit on just our most rostered forwards here. And I'll say for me right now, I'm really getting to, here are the guys I have the most exposure to at forward. Chuma Okeke, Justin Anderson, RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Darius Baisley. Anybody you disagree with it of that group, and who else would you add to it?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to change Baisley at all, but I'm going to make a case for Pokashevsky and Jonathan Kuminga. I think both of them need to be guys that you probably get to a little bit more. I mean, Golden State, there is so much opportunity. And also, if I think about this in a way where this game gets wonky, Kuminga's been a guy who's played some garbage time from time to time. He's at 21.3%. That's an uncomfortable kind of number here for him, but he's shown that he can get it done from a fantasy perspective. 0.96 on the season. Now absent Clay, absent Steph. Lots of opportunity that exists there for him. So I think Kuminga is a good guy to add to it. And then Pokusevski is somebody that I think I just get over the field on pretty much every single time that you get Shea and Giddey off the floor here. Just a guy that, going back to the G League and coming up here, it's a guy that kind of seems a little bit different to me. I've got him in for 29 minutes, and he looks great on a fantasy point per minute basis. 0.96, ironically enough, identical rate to whoever I just talked about here. But Pokusevski, put him in the grouping as well for me.
Yeah, I have 10% of Pokusevski, so he's in there. But once again, he's just a casualty of Pokusevski's a very good points per dollar play. You know who else is 70 other players on this slate?
I have 22% of him, but I'm saying that was the next guy that you didn't list because I have so many good plays. That's why you don't just jam a guy today unless it's Embiid. Like Embiid's the one guy that, when he said 100% of a guy, if you want to jam somebody 100%, he's the only one that I really actually agree with doing it on.
All right. More questions to answer here from KS Super Chat. Thoughts on Christian Wood? I didn't really end up getting to Christian Wood here. There's so many good guys to roster. And actually there aren't forwards I really paid up for. I paid up for Joel Embiid at center. I paid up for some of Bam Adebayo at guard. I paid up for Trae Young, a little bit of Tyrese Halliburton, but center and point guard is primarily where I paid up for today. Are you getting to Christian Wood much?
Yeah, I'm getting to a little bit, but not anything in like a ridiculous fashion. I mean, I have 5% on DK. It's not like he's some large stand that I'm taking on this slate. You could play the clip right now if you wanted, Tyler, because Christian Wood is sometimes maybe something, sometimes maybe something else. Hurry up. Time's ticking. We have 11 minutes before lock. Sometimes
maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Oh my God.
Christian Wood, 5%. And your dog attacked you. That's great.
Bruce went crazy for that.
Well done, Tyler. Way to have that one queued up just in time. You have
super chat from Shane Daly. I like Goga more tonight because Goga more than what? But anyway, I like Goga more tonight because I get to say Goga a lot. Seinfeld voice, sang salsa. Sure. Do you like Goga's? His name is fun to say.
Goga. It sounds like Gungus, that stupid commercial that's on all the time.
That must be a local commercial because I have no clue what you're talking about.
Know,
Super chat from Daryl Jones. Oh. Can you play Toppin and Sims in the same lineup? Can you? Yes. Will I? No, I don't really like Jericho Sims that much. He's a low priority play, Toppin fairly high priority. I don't think it's necessary on this slate. We're circling back on the Jericho Sims thing again now that he's starting. Are you playing any lineups with him and Toppin together?
No, I really don't have that much Jericho Sims. How much did you get to? I have 3%.
Yeah, he's not really part of my builds.
He's and I might, now that I'm saying it, just take him out of my pool because he shouldn't probably be there.
Yeah. And is the reason to think he is upside? Yes. But once again, I think the opportunity cost is losing out on some better options. And there's a lot of them to get to on today's slate. We got 10 minutes to go into lock, guys. Do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I should have said it more over the course of the show, but I just couldn't because it's been nonstop with the news, with the questions. I love you all. Love us back. Like the video. I wish there was a love button. There's only a like button. There should be a love button too. That would make me feel much better about myself. But don't fret, fellas. 10 minutes to slate my lock, but we're going to be here for another 30 minutes talking about prize picks and going over odd shoppers, some prop plays, and I'm sure about 30 minutes probably of nonstop news. We just got the Pistons starting lineup. It is Corey Joseph, Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Stewart. So Killian Hayes and Marvin Bagley returning to the bench. That doesn't really change that much. From the Atlanta Hawks, I know you've liked this guy in the past. Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot is going to be starting for Atlanta in place of Danilo Gallinari. So starting lineup of Young, Herder, TLC, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella. Are you going to be playing TLC at all?
I don't want no Scrubs. Scrubs a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. Or is it, don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the slate that we're used to.
I'm going to take that as a no. It was a lot to decipher. That was a no, right?
Yeah, it is correct. That is correct.
All right, there we go. So there is no TLC for me either.
Yeah, no
And
waterfalls.
Anything else at forward you want to talk about here? Once
really.
again, yeah.
Are you getting to any spend ups here? I mean, because like Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum feel like guys that are great plays for FanDuel specifically. That's why you're getting 20.9, 20.7% for them. It's a spot where a lot of people are going to Obi Toppin. I think he's just fine. I don't think you need to play 40% of him on this slate. Again, you shouldn't have to play like 40% of anybody unless you're taking a tournament stand on them. Like Tyus Jones, I said I liked, but now Trey Mann exists, less so on FanDuel. But like, I think both of them are just clear-cut guys to get to more on FanDuel, playing multiple sites. But DraftKings, it's just really hard to land on guys like that here on this slate. Guard is so stacked. Joel Embiid is so easy to get to. Now I'm getting to Goga. I was just curious if you got to any of the spend ups whatsoever at forward.
Does RJ Barrett count as a spend up?
Yeah, he does. And you should have lots of him.
Okay. So yeah, RJ Barrett, then just how do you not project this guy for a lot of usage at this point? And I get he's going to be popular, but it's warranted. We just saw what his role was the other day or yesterday without Julius Randle there. He played almost the entire game. He put up a million real life points. He took all of the shots for the Knicks. So it's an unavoidable piece of chalk. I think he's a really good cash game play as well. So play some RJ Barrett today for sure. I have a little bit of interest in Jimmy Butler with my mortal enemy, Jimmy Butler. But Tyler Hero's out, and this is a really favorable matchup against a banged up Golden State Warriors team. So Jimmy Butler is my second favorite pay up option at forward.
Okay, don't mind it.
Anything else to add here? If not, we'll touch on centers.
Keep it moving.
All right, centers. Play Joel Embiid. There's a lot of value at other positions. At center, we have added some other guys, Goga Bitadze, who Eric really likes as a points per dollar basis. I do as well. I wish I got to more of them. It's just an issue in terms of me liking a lot of centers, a lot of cheap plays on the slate. So I only have around 10% of Goga. Wish I could have gotten more. Just isn't quite going to work that way for me. Joel Embiid, I love as a spend up option here for all the reasons Eric outlined before. There are not that many great plays to spend up for on this slate when we have a ton of value plays. Embiid to me is pretty clearly the highest upside guy. I'm landing on him a good amount.
Yeah, he's the best play, best spend up on this slate. Like that's what he is. He fills that role. You just have to play lots of him. He projects out for 62.5 fantasy points for me on DraftKings. It's a ridiculous number. There's Dwight Howard, Wenyon Gabriel. Like, what are they going to possibly do to slow down Embiid? He's just going to have his way here. Yeah, is there blowout concerns? Sure. But if you start having that conversation about a guy that you legitimately project for 60, if there is, he's probably the reason that it happened in the first place.
Super chat from Derek Stansel. Robert Williams or Pogo? I assume that means
Pokuševski.
What is the pricing here? He said Robert Williams or Pogo. So is that Pokuševski or is it Goga mistyped?
Interesting. I think it's Pokuševski. Poko or maybe not. I don't know. You want to answer both?
The price on Robert Williams on FanDuel is, I'm trying to figure out if they're close in price. Robert Williams, Pogo, I guess I prefer Robert Williams to Pokuševski. How about you?
I do as well. No. Robert Williams to Pokuševski. No, I like Pokuševski more.
So the answer was, but yeah, no, I prefer Robert Williams to Pokuševski. I get It's a good spot for Pokuševski, but Robert Williams is still a much better fantasy producer. So that's where I prefer to go. Next super chat here from another one from our guy, Uzi Azizov. Murray, Toppin, or Tatum, Herder, or DFS. Oh, okay. Murray and Toppin, and then Tatum, and then Herder or DFS. I prefer Murray and Toppin.
Murray, Toppin, or Tatum, Herder. Yeah, first one by far, actually.
How are you doing with your lineups?
I'm okay. I'm alive.
Okay. Well, you've got 4 minutes.
Oh, good. That's not good. That's not good.
Not good. All right. So next super chat. Do you want me to answer some of these questions?
No, I can do it. I can do it while we're going back and forth. Again, maybe 4 sites was a bad idea after all.
Yeah. No, I told you that. I knew that right away. Right away. I knew that was a poor idea. William Fox, best DK play for 6,600 or below for GPP and utility. All right, 6,600. Let me scroll through all of my projections here and see who I have projected the best for 6,600 or below. 66, and it's at utility, so it could be any position. Let's see. That is Spencer Dinwiddie for me. There's a good chance he's already rostered Dinwiddie, though, so I'll keep scrolling and see who else. The next one is Trey Mann for me after him.
I have 41% Trey Mann. What is wrong with me on DK?
The answer is Dinwiddie, though. 66 and below.
Yeah, Dinwiddie is a phenomenal play. And again, I'm playing a little bit more Brunson is like a game theory thing, but now I'm kind of rerunning everything and I'm still getting to a ton of Dinwiddie. So I don't want to besmirch anything there.
All right. I think we're all caught up on the super chats here. Really quick, just center position. Is there anybody we haven't mentioned that you're getting to a whole bunch of? Because for me at center, the primary options, it's Baisley, Embiid, Adebayo, and then to a lesser extent, and Damian Jones, and then to a lesser extent, Goga and Carmelo Anthony, because Carmelo Anthony, for reasons unknown to me, is center eligibility on DK. Jakob Poeltl, FanDuel specific play. He's a really strong option. What are you looking at the center spot that we haven't talked about yet?
Karl Anthony Towns.
Okay.
Just has the Q tag of death next to him. He's projected under 6%. As I said, Joel Embiid's the guy, but you can play two centers on DraftKings. I'm playing a lot of Goga. And Karl Anthony Towns, I'm getting to around 19% of lineups on DraftKings. That's a pretty large stand, 3x the field on a guy. I just think he carries a ton of upside. And there aren't many guys that you just know are going to be underowned. I know no matter what, he's going to be underowned.
I'm going to try to answer as many of these questions as quickly as possible. We got on our Discord channel. Eric, just upload your lineups while I do this.
Okay, cool.
First from Supac00P, better pay up option on FanDuel, DeJounte Murray or Trae Young. I prefer Trae Young today. From like Jeremiah. Oh, he asked this specifically to you, but I'm going to answer it anyway. Eric, you and Gundacker called it out last time, but is it Dwight Powell night again against Houston?
No, it is not.
There's just better value plays today. So no real need to go there, I think, for this slate. Another one from Supac00P, Trendon Watford or Darius Baisley on FanDuel. I prefer Darius Baisley. I'm getting to a lot of Baisley now. We have a question here from 024631. Who is our highest owned player today?
Goga Bitadze.
Dinwiddie for me.
If I can get these lineups in, it'll be Goga Bitadze.
Yeah. For Eric, it might be nobody for all we know. We'll see. This is big suspense. So 30 seconds, a couple of things are going to happen. Number one, most importantly, we're going to find out whether Eric Lindquist got his lineups uploaded or not in time. Number two, we're going to be talking about prize picks. We're going to go through Odd Shopper. If you guys haven't used Odd Shopper yet, totally free tool to use over at awesemo.com. Help you identify all of the best prop plays that you can make at any sportsbook in your area. And then something else also. It'll help you find some of the best plays over at Prize Picks prop-based site. We're going to be rattling off some of our favorite plays there. If you guys are signing up at Prize Picks for the first time, use the promo code Awesemo, get a $100 bonus on your first deposit, and get yourself one free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Super chat here from Cheyenne DeWald. Is Eric frozen or am I? Or is it just Eric making weird face?
It's me. So I'm going to send you the screenshot. Oh, wait, no, it went through. So I got my lineups up. I got 190 of them in out of 195 that I needed to get in there at the end. I had 235 total. And so I was rerunning my other batch because I do my $4. I do like the 40 lineups that way. But out of the 195 that I had left, I got all but 4. So it means that I hit the upload button and it was like within a second and almost all of them got through. So like,
not bad.
I love you so much. Thank you for covering for me. That was incredible for a sweat.
You had a look on your face that was so surprised and you were frozen. I actually thought you just froze. I thought because you were just sitting there like, and I was like, oh, I guess Eric's frozen. I'm doing the next 30 minutes by myself. But no, that was not the case. It was just you happy you got lineups in time. So let's hit on these super chats here from Cheyenne DeWald. If Jimmy is ruled in, would you get off Adebayo? Butler's on track to play. I assume he's playing. All indications are from what we've seen that he's going to play. I like Adebayo either way. Not like he's my favorite center player or anything, but I have him in a good chunk of lineups. I think the favorable matchup against a banged up Golden State Warriors team, and then also the absence of Tyler Hero, creates some extra opportunity for Bam Adebayo. So I still like getting to him. Did you get to Bam at all?
A little bit, not much. He's definitely going to be a guy that I'm not exactly cheering for, but if you were to go nuts, I have a little bit.
My filler arc, another super chat from him. One more, Booker or Mitchell? Utah. Mitchell, good call there, or else we might not know who you're talking about. So Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell, he is $9,600 for point guard, and he wants some sure points. He doesn't want any iffy points. He wants the surest points possible. Are they going to come from Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell?
They're going to come from Devin Booker. I mean, this is a Minnesota game with a 238.5 total. Yeah, I feel pretty good in saying Devin Booker, absent all these other idiots. I mean, Chris Paul, I love him. I don't know why I'm saying an idiot. He's not an idiot, but Boston defense confirmed good. Number one in defensive efficiency.
Yeah.
Not that I look into defense that much, but all I'm saying is that if you're talking about sure points, I'm going to go the Devin Booker route.
All right. I think we finally got caught up on all the super chats. We're caught up on news. We're caught up on super chats. We do have, by the way, since we just got this question from Cheyenne DeWalt, now it's official. Jimmy Butler will start today, starting lineup for the Heat. Lowry, Robinson, Butler, Tucker, Adebayo. Oh, there we go. I thought we were caught up on news, and then we get this Golden State Warriors starting lineup.
Oh, and you got Kessler Edwards starting for Brooklyn, 3,100.
Is that going to do anything for you? The minutes for those role players for the Nets are so difficult to predict.
It's a guy who's 3,100 that can fit into some lines. He's not good at fantasy purposes, but if he plays 28 minutes, could he find a way at 3,100 to be okay at 20-something-ish? Might get to like 2%, but it's just throwing it out there into the world.
All right. What has he done in recent starts?
Not much, Greg. Not much.
He played 18 minutes in his last start. I can't get behind it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'm just kind of talking myself into it.
Yeah, he's made 20 starts this year, 28 minutes per game, 16 fantasy points in those starts.
Not ideal.
Done with him. No need. Could he go well today? I guess, but there's better value options out there. I can't play everybody. Let's hit on this Golden State Warriors starting lineup, and then we could try to break down some prize picks props. We'll pull up Odd Shopper. The starting lineup for Golden State: Poole, Moody, Wiggins, Kuminga, Looney. Is that any different than what you anticipated it would be? And is there anything that you're changing your opinion on Golden State based on that starting lineup?
It's exactly what I expected it to be. I already like Kuminga. I had talked about him at the forward spot. I added him to the fray for guys that I thought would make some sense. Moody's been good in some of these random starts where you've been absent all the other guys. Remember that Denver game where they ended up just taking all the dudes to Denver and trying to win one while Steph and Clay sat back home? Well, welcome to this exact same situation here. You're just not going to see a whole lot of opportunity. I mean, the big question mark, I suppose, let me just pull up Golden State here. It's kind of looking at, I mean, what do we kind of see the minutes being for a Moses Moody at 3,400? Do we see Nemanja Bjelica play some backup minutes and kind of like have second unit opportunity, I suppose? I mean, it's just kind of a weird spot. I mean, you get Kuminga, that's more short up, but I got to assume people are already getting there, and now they're really, really going to get there 4,100.
So here's the issue that I think happens with Golden State. We've seen these spots in the past where they're playing on a tail end of back-to-back. They rest guys. You know what they've usually done in this situation is played a very deep rotation with really splintered minutes. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that we're going to see massive minutes from Kuminga, Looney, Moody, like any of these guys. I think the most likely scenario is like mid to highs 20 minutes from a lot of these guys. Do you remember the Gary Payton start where all these guys were out and Payton was uber chalk and he played like 8 minutes?
Yeah, and Damian Lee came on and played quite a bit, and you had Juan Toscano-Anderson re-enter the rotation for the first time in a while. Yeah, it gets dicey, but I mean, Kuminga's 4,100 and he averages nearly a fantasy point per minute. He's at least got to be in some lineups.
Yeah. I have him in my player pool, not like one of my highest priority options.
That's
so for
fair.
me personally, I'd rather roster Obi Toppin, for instance. I know that game's already locked, but I'm just kind of comparing two cheap players. They're going to be because Kuminga's also going to be popular today.
Did somebody just say Goga is 5% on DraftKings?
I haven't looked yet because there's so many other things to do. I haven't pulled up my lineups
72. Yet. I said he's my highest owned guy on DK.
Let's say
72%.
I'm going to. Why does everything have new features at the same time?
Because life is not fair, Greg. Life
Twitter, I don't like change. Keep everything the same. I pull up DK. It's telling me we have new features now. Then I open up my phone and it's like, look, we have a new notifications page. Like, just leave everything the way it was. Everything was organized. I was doing just fine. All right, Goga.
Right. Well, I'm the biggest Goga fan ever because people in the chat, I talked you guys on to him in bulk, and I'm just fingers crossed this works out for us because I knew part of the appeal was I thought he'd be the most under-owned piece that we had on this entire slate. And if he's 5%, I cannot tell you the windmill slam that could be.
What do you think about 12% Justin Anderson?
It's kind of sexy. It's as sexy as Justin Anderson will ever be, ever, from now until forever. Didn't he play for Virginia back in the day? And he was just like a defensive specialist.
Nobody knows.
Okay, I just made all of that up. I'm pretty sure that was the case, though.
Well, let's see. I'll look it up. You could be right. You could be wrong.
Joey Corman, hands away from the computer.
Yeah, nobody knows. Justin Anderson. He did go to college in Virginia.
There you go. It's
Justin Anderson
played with
college stats.
Jaylen Brunson, I believe. They were pretty fun.
He was 2012. He was there.
That's a long time ago. So pre-Brunson, obviously.
What were his numbers? And his numbers in college were not great.
Oh, he was just a defensive specialist. That's like,
yeah, you could.
That was like the era that came in.
Certainly wasn't an offensive specialist.
But I'm saying that like that was his prowess in college. Virginia like really played low, grinding out games early 2000 or early 2010s, and Brogdon. He played with Brogdon, not Brunson. That was who I was thinking of. Malcolm Brogdon and him on the same team together.
You're getting Eric Pascal starting for the Jazz. Is this never going to stop? Every time I think we could talk about other things?
No. But here's the thing. If you're on Prize Picks, go to oddshopper.com. Go use OddShopper and constantly be reacting to this news, because on Prize Picks, they give you some nice leniency from time to time to be able to take advantage of some of these player prop numbers and opportunities. And usually it's a lot of the studs, but there's some ancillary players that they're starting to mix in more and more on the site. I love playing over there. That's why I'm wearing their t-shirt. It's a company that I can really get behind, a company that I really like playing on quite a bit. I'm in our group chat talking all the time about Prize Picks. I think it's one of the most fun. I think it's also just very straightforward on what you do. You go to OddShopper, you sort by expected win percentage. You also go use the NBA prop tool. They literally have a Prize Picks prop tool on the Awesemo tab. Go to the NBA tab for it. Pull down. So much fun to play over there. I think the fantasy score is the easiest thing to just use if you're a fantasy player as is. Compare it to the fantasy projections we have. It's almost exactly like FanDuel. It is exactly like FanDuel, by the way. Go take advantage of that here now. I'm going to just scroll and see if there's anything from Utah, because once in a while you get certain players like Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. Those are the only two studs listed. I think it's not really applicable, so we can probably skip out on that one. But, in the event that you get a wonky starting lineup, I mean, Jordan Poole is going to have to do everything at 35 fantasy points. On FanDuel, I project him for more than that. I have no problem going to Jordan Poole, having him be part of a 2-player parlay over on Prize Picks.
Like how I called him Jordan Peele. You just combined
glossed over it.
You combine like two actors. By the way, I like your terminology. Prize Picks, a product I could get behind. Like you're on a commercial there, but how can you not get behind something when you sign up using the promo code Awesemo and you get $100 up to $100 for free, 1 free month of Awesemo Platinum? That's a product to get behind. Are we caught up? Let's talk about the Utah Jazz news now. So Eric Pascal he's starting instead of Juancho Hernan-Gomez. So it's not like it's going to make that big of a difference for us. Utah here, Pascal has not been a good fantasy producer. And even the times he's been on the court often has been with garbage players. So I'm not going to be rostering Pascal.
I'm the family, Pascal. Do you get that reference or no?
Not at all. Not at all.
Tyler's on his phone. He's not.
Yeah, Tyler's doing other things. Yeah.
Chad will get it. You're not obviously hip with the new Disney movies in town, is what we just learned.
No. I'm. I don't have children. I'm not a pedophile. Like, there's no reason that I would be watching. For what reason am I watching Disney movies? What are you watching Disney movies? What are you watching Disney movies for?
I have nieces and nephews.
Likely excuse. Yeah, no, I'm not familiar with them at all. So that's a reasonable one for me to not know. I'm in my 30s. I don't know the latest Disney movie.
Encanto. There we go. Somebody wins the day. Greg is not that person.
Yep. No, never heard of that. Got another question here from Jets World in our Discord channel. Durant and Cole Anthony or Wiggins and Embiid on DK? Wiggins and Embiid for me.
Yep. Wiggins and Embiid, just fine with that. It's Embiid for just about every 2v2 for me. So there you go.
All right. Let's finally hit on prize picks now. The dust is settled and we could really sit down and try to figure out.
You say that now.
Yeah, I know. I've said it. How many times have I said that so far today? I've said it 15 times. And then as soon as I say that, something else, some alert comes up on my phone on some format I don't recognize because the settings got updated and I'm sad. But let's hit on now some of the best overall prop plays on the site that we could use. Odd Shopper, find us some value over on Prize Picks. Eric, what are the first things that are standing out to you?
Yeah, so I mean, I talked about some of the fantasy stuff that you're able to use as a crossover, going to the FanDuel projections and use those directly to help inform you for the fantasy scores. But then Odd Shopper is we group by projected win percentage, which is a huge difference between projected ROI and win percentage. Luckily, the boss man showed pity and he reached out. Well, actually, no, I asked him, I was like, I have this question and I couldn't answer for this guy in terms of how to best use the props tool and the best projected win percentage numbers that we have on the site, talking about the mean median difference between the two. But they do take range of outcomes into effect by using the prop tool, less so for Odd Shopper. So just want to be clear, there's a tiny bit of a difference between the two, but mainly best projected win percentage is going to inform what we do a lot. It looks like the first one that's probably going to be available as you go back and forth is Malik Monk rebounds there, because 4.5 seems to be the prevailing number. See if Malik Monk is available there on the bottom. I'm
or rebounds. We don't have Malik Monk. Let's see if we have a fantasy score.
Because Austin Reeves was there earlier, and so that's why I'm bringing up him, because that's just insane.
Yeah, it looks like all of the Lakers players came down other than Westbrook
Austin Reeves has rebounds 3.5, which is absurd.
Oh, that is weird. Let's see. Reeves. Yeah, at least for fantasy points now, I'm only seeing Westbrook. What about points plus rebounds plus assists? Got what? Oh, here we've got some. We've got some Lakers guys. Austin Reeves 16.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. Malik Monk 23.5.
God, Malik Monk 23.5 feels pretty good. That one I like a little bit more. Austin Reeves, I've been doing pretty well shorting him over on Prize Picks. It's going to burn you from time to time, but the number of times it seems to work out and the number of times Odd Shopper has been shorting Austin Reeves has been positive, but huge question mark when you take LeBron James out of there. Let me click on Austin Reeves here, actually, because we're talking about him. The under of 2.5 assists checks out. The under of 3.5 rebounds checks out slightly. Under of 9.5 points. I'll take the under of 16.5 points, rebounds, assists for Austin Reeves.
I'm going to push back against you, and I think you're going to agree with me.
Okay.
The reason the number is what it is because Talen Horton Tucker is questionable. I don't want to get in a situation. I don't want to get in a situation where Talen Horton Tucker gets ruled out and Austin Reeves starts, and then we're like, oh look, Austin Reeves looks pretty good.
That's a great call. That's the kind of things that we pay you for here at Awesemo.com. But also Austin Reeves, it's just been such an easy short of late that I kind of just am inherently biased towards going and clicking on that one. It's so weird when it shows up all the time over on Prize Picks because, a lot of the times it's most of the studs that are going to exist over there, but there's been more and more ancillary pieces that are getting into the mix. And I really do enjoy that because that's when it really, really gets fun. How do you view a guy like Rudy Gay in the aftermath of no Juancho Hernangomez starting? I don't think he's exactly going to be out of the rotation completely, but you get now Pascal joining it, who I projected for literally 0 minutes.
Who did you say you projected for 0 minutes?
I had Eric Pascal projected for 0 minutes, like I'm assuming you did as well. But how does this affect Rudy Gay? Because I think shorting Rudy Gay is probably an okay thing to do at this point.
I think Rudy Gay still plays his normal 16 to 18 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, it's a bummer because I was thinking.
I don't think it changes him at all. I think we just go the minutes that Hernangomez was playing, go to Eric Pascal. I think Hernangomez falls out of the rotation and Pascal plays the minutes that Hernangomez was playing where he was getting 16 to 24 minutes and wasn't doing anything while he was on the court, Eric Pascal could fill that role with no problem.
Yeah.
He could play. He could play. He could play low 20s minutes and not put up fantasy points. I'm pretty confident in that.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's in his bag. It's in his bag of tricks.
All right, that's fair. But isn't it's so fun to go through these. And again, I want to make sure that I'm doing the great thing where I'm not just putting my stamp on a play and just saying that, oh, I love this play or not that play. I mean, we have so many moving parts on this slate. Just be paying acute attention to props that might look really good, just like I was talking about with the Austin Reeves one, but then really put some context. The THT call really makes it tough to want to get there in any kind of a meaningful way. Isn't that crazy that I was talking about how important THT might be, and then I completely forgot he existed because of the onslaught of news for the last 75 minutes?
It's tough to keep on track of everything. We've had a lot happen. This has been a very fast show. I feel like we just started and we've only got 10 minutes left, and a lot has changed. Nothing's the same as what happened.
Goga, highest score on the slate right now. 5 points and a steal in 3 minutes. Let's go, team.
No stopping them. Who else is looking good so far? Obi Toppin, 4 points and 2 rebounds in 4 minutes. We've got Alec Burks, is 3 points, a rebound, and an assist. On the Charlotte side of the game, not really much doing right now. LaMelo does have 3 points, a rebound, and a steal. To Eric's point, let me go over to the Pacers-Kings game. For the Kings, Harrison Barnes is 5 points and a board so far. Nobody else doing anything from the Pacers. Yeah, got 5 points and a steal from Goga. Also 2 points, a rebound, and an assist for Buddy Hield. Some super chats to hit on here. Brian Brooks, Kuminga or Okiki on DK? I prefer Okiki. I think you might prefer Kuminga based on what you were talking about before.
Yeah, slightly, but I think they're both good plays. It's just that I'm not going to get to I think you're taking an aggressive stand on Okiki. I'm not taking an aggressive stand really on either. I think it's close, but I'm going to probably side with Kuminga. I just have more certainty. And do we even have that starting lineup yet?
For Orlando, no.
I would like to see the freaking starting lineup here before lock of that game, and it's in 42 minutes. So I think you could get an Okiki start here, and that would
never mind. We do. Sorry.
Confident.
Yeah, we got to come in. Came in not too long ago. It's Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton, Franz Wagner, Okiki, and Bamba.
Okay, Okiki's in it. Then I'm going to prefer him just slightly because he's the lesser commodity. I think they're both 21%, 19%. It's negligible in terms of ownership. But something tells me Kuminga might get jammed a little bit more here. I think I'm probably close to 50-50, but I'll side with just my projection, slightly better for Kuminga.
The matchup is so much better for Okiki. That's going to have me lean towards him. And then also, it's so hard to project the minutes for the Warriors. I'm not saying not to play Kuminga for anybody who's playing multiple lineups. In one lineup, though, I lean towards Okiki. Jordan Lockhart, pushing P, ? LOL. Is pushing P. Pushing P for Prize Picks and Goga Batadze. Let's get back to Prize Picks. Let's try to find a couple more props for the people at home that rely on us for the. Oh, never mind. We have a super chat from Nelson Taylor. I can't read that because we're trying to be discreet here. We're trying to be discreet with our beefs here, Nelson. I don't.
It's like that. What's the bird emoji?
No, that's not even what it is either. The bird goes. Listen, we could go to war. We could have our beefs, but we try to be discreet about it. It keeps. I don't know why, but it makes it a little more fun. Like when you watch a sitcom and they make like sex jokes and everybody knows what it is, but they don't actually say what the thing is.
Yeah,
that's how you got to do it. All right, let's go back to Prize Picks. What else is looking good on Odd Shopper when it comes to Prize Picks props?
Oh, let me go back to that here. Somebody just asked, is Cat playing? I don't know, but if he is, I'm going to get him really, really low owned, and I have lots of him. So that would be fun for everybody involved. Kevin Durant, 28.5 actual points. Smash the over against Memphis. That feels like a pretty good one for me. You can sort by games here. Memphis and Brooklyn here. Sure, you get Kyrie Irving back into the mix. And, for me, I just project for raw points. Oh, and we just got the starting lineup. Exactly what we expected from the Thunder, by the way. Man, Wiggins, Pokusevski, Baisley, Roby. We'll talk on that in a second. But I think Kevin Durant, in the same way that I talked about LeBron James, even though he looked absolutely flat at 30.5, was his number the other night in Cleveland. It was just a circumstance where they just really need their studs to really elevate in order to move up playoff positioning. Same thing with the Nets. Kevin Durant, we have projected at odd shopper 30.7 points. I feel even more confident about this one than I did for LeBron James. And he ended up putting up 38, 12 and 11 in Cleveland or whatever the other night. It was beautiful. Kevin Durant smashed the over of 28.5 points.
Hello from Nelson Taylor. Someone wouldn't be scared to play Reeves, Greg. Listen, it's not as much scared as much as I don't think he's a good option.
Nelson Taylor playing chess, not checkers.
Yeah, there we go.
An unidentified someone.
Yeah, that's the.
Go ahead. Choose your words carefully, Greg. Twitter's a thing.
So here's just about Austin Reeves and the Lakers in general. There's a lot of teams that are like the Lakers are playing checkers and everybody else in the NBA is playing basketball. That's the issue with the Los Angeles Lakers. They don't know what's going on here. They're playing a different sport. It's not going well for them. Let's go back to prize picks. Okay. We've got, oh, by the way, Elfrid Payton listed as a starter over Campaign. What do you make of that?
What?
Listed starter. They could be wrong from time to time.
Why are we doing this? Well, hang on. I mean, 4,200 health Payton. LOL. Not going to play him. It's more. Did I have any pain in the membrane? Campaign in the membrane.
Justin Anderson in foul trouble.
Of course, that's how it works. I did have 2% Campaign. I will have 1% Campaign. We're going to just put a cap on that. We're going to rerun it, and I'll just get 1%. But, that would make him an awful play. So don't play Elfrid Payton.
Well, Justin Anderson, it was nice while it lasted, a rebound and an assist in 4 minutes, but 2 personal fouls, and I'll end up playing 20 minutes today. Potentially not going to be able to remember. Yeah, probably not going to be able to replicate what he did last game.
Will you remember me?
That's all right. We've got prize picks props to chase here. What else looks good on Odd Shopper tonight, Eric?
All right. Well, you don't let your life pass you by. I don't know the rest of the words to.
How about Jordan Poole?
Jordan Poole sounds great. Jordan Poole taking the under of 24.5 points. That sounds lovely. That's one that I bet earlier in the day. It stayed at that number. Again, there's a lot of opportunity for him here, but math is a thing. And Jordan Poole shot the ball pretty efficiently the other day. Would it surprise anybody if Miami put the clamps down and Jordan Poole did not shoot the ball well here in this spot? I don't think it would surprise anyone, which is why I'm not clearly prioritizing him over anybody else. Fire up the under of 24.5 there.
So this isn't available on Prize Picks, but I just want to shout out that this is our best overall projected prop bet of the day. Jordan Poole has a ridiculously high 3-point prop. Have you seen this today? The over
4.5, right?
That is a very high number. That is a very high number. We have it winning 78% of the time with a 40% expected ROI. Go bet the under 4.5 threes for Jordan Poole if it's available to you. Very high number. I'm projected for around 3. That's a lot of threes to project Jordan Poole for. This is a tough matchup. I think more likely than not, he's under 5 in this game. Big number. What else looks good on Prize Picks? 5 minutes left.
That looked great. Let's go back over here. Oh, didn't I do this the other day where I put up a $50 prop and I said, well, actually, no, what I did was I did 150 and I did 50 for you, 50 for the field, 50 for everybody else. I'm going to put a $100 prop together here. We're going to pick out our 3 favorites, my favorite, Greg's favorite, and your favorite. I'm going to post it to Twitter. Swear to God, we're going to win one of these. We lost by the hook last week. By the frickin' hook, we lost. I can't remember who it was, but I'm pissed off even thinking about it right now.
Robert, it wasn't quite by the hook. I think we had Robert Williams over 9.5 points and he finished with 8.
It was pain,
and he didn't play in the second half,
and sadness. He played the first 5 minutes against Golden State, and then they were running him out of the gym. And Peyton Pritchard decided to turn he's on fire NBA Jam style on the second half. That was really, really tilting. Oh, and I bet a bunch of second half props with Klay Thompson. You know what? We're gonna just not even talk about that anymore. What's your favorite prop to utilize for this game? I'm gonna post it on Twitter. You follow Odd Shopper. You follow Awesemo. If it hits, which again, this is the 3rd week now, we're going to get there eventually. I'm just going to give away that portion of the winning. So I'm going to put $100 together. So $50, we're going to put 3 plays. That's what, 5X. So I'm going to be giving away some free money if it hits.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Andre Drummond over 9 rebounds. I know that there are some 8.5 numbers out there, which is a little bit more favorable, but still, for the purpose of prize picks here, I still do like the over 9 rebounds. I haven't projected around 11. We haven't projected for over 11 over on Awesemo.com. And, I think we've seen from Andre Drummond really securing himself a role in Brooklyn. And then also we've still got LaMarcus Aldridge out for the Nets. And as long as that's the case, we can feel pretty good about getting mid-20s minutes from Andre Drummond. Also a matchup against Steven Adams. I don't think we're going to see the Nets go small or anything like that. So Drummond over 9 rebounds. Give me that one.
Love it. I'm going to take the over 28.5 Kevin Durant. I talked about it earlier. I have a lot of confidence in this play. I don't want to do the points plus rebounds plus assists. He's sharing a floor with Kyrie. Kyrie ate up a ton of usage last time they shared the floor. It was in Orlando and Kyrie put up 60. I don't expect stuff like that to be happening on a normal day-to-day basis. Over a 30% usage, he's the best scorer on planet Earth. 28.5 points is too low against a Memphis team here.
And let's go to chat. From chat, what is your favorite play over on Prize Picks today? We're going to put Eric's hard-earned money on the line, and we'll see if we can make something of it. We've got, well, guys, we're talking about guys that have already started here. Buddy Hield is smashing. Not going to help us here. We've got Steven Leibowitz has Jordan Poole for over 35 fantasy points.
Don't mind it.
Let's see. Where do I have Poole for today?
I mean, the thing I did, I smashed a ton of New York as soon as that news dropped that Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle were officially out, because like Randle, questionable, but when Robinson got ruled out, I jammed a bunch of those guys on Prize Picks. So I'm already very invested in Knicks. So please, no Knicks.
Well, also the game's already started.
That's a problem.
Yeah, so you can't pick him anyway. Another reason
Good for
not
second
to.
half if you wanted to.
I for me personally, I think the Jordan Poole number is pretty efficient at 35, and I'm not totally. I don't feel great about his minutes. So if we're just looking at upside for fantasy, I prefer Jordan Poole than just straight up taking an over on his fantasy points prop. If I'm taking anything with Jordan Poole, it's under 4.5 threes, but that one's not available over on Prize Picks. What else do we got here? 1 of 1 Cody. DeJounte Murray over 7.5 rebounds. Let's see, where do I have Murray?
I'm trying to find one for chat. Chat, you guys are.
I don't mind Murray. It's not my favorite. I don't mind Murray over 7.5 rebounds.
Let's not. We have the entire board to work with. We got to find one that we like. Like Greg likes 9. I like 28.5 over for Kevin Durant. Give us one that you really like. I don't want some lackluster. Oh, maybe put this one in.
We've got Robert Page says Dinwiddie over rebounds is his favorite play on Prize Picks. What is Dinwiddie's rebound number? Dinwiddie 5 seems pretty reasonable. Where do I have Dinwiddie? Nah, that's an efficient number, 5.
Brunson's at 4. What are we doing with Brunson?
Brunson, I think that's an efficient number.
That's pretty efficient too. Come on now, chat. Let's get out with
Dylan
this
Brooks
one.
over points. What is Dylan Brooks points?
All he does is shoot, no matter what. Got shooting on his shooting with the shoot, and he shoots there.
Yeah, that's 18.5. That's another efficient line.
Yeah, these are all efficient. Cole Anthony or Brunson. Let's get these in. No, we still have 10 minutes before that Brooklyn one locks. Somebody give us one.
Here's one you might like.
Okay.
And we're about to approach the end of the show, but it's okay. We've got, how about Kyrie Irving free throws? This one came from Twitch.
Kyrie Irving free throws.
I know you like your free throws.
I can't combine 3 Brooklyn players together. You have to use a player from another team.
All right.
We had the market cornered on Brooklyn, so I need a non-Brooklyn. Capella over at 11.5 rebounds there from Dave DeRemer, our guy. How do you feel about that one?
Game already started.
That's sadness and pain and suffering.
Yeah, or else I would have. I like the call of getting somebody with 7 rebounds in the first quarter, though.
Chestnut checkers. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Oh, actually, they stack corrected and took one away from him, so he's at 6. Let's see. Anything else?
Trey Mann over something or another? Nope.
All right, I'm going to go to. We've got lives to live here. We're not going to do the show for another 40. And also, the games are going to lock by the time.
I kind of want Tyler to stay here for another 10 minutes, though.
Yeah, no, I've got stuff to do. So let's go over to Odd Shopper. And what is the best available line? Oh, here's one that somebody gave out in chat that also lines up with our
Cameron
projections
Payne
here.
starting. Liars. Damn dirty liars. Cameron Payne starting.
Over 5 assists for Marcus Smart.
Let's do it.
I like it. I have him projected for nearly 6. We also have him
Over
projected for
5.
nearly 6 on the site.
Let's do
Over
it.
5. Yeah, this is something that we have winning 69% of the time. Nice number. Over 5 for Marcus Smart.
All right. I
Locked and loaded.
locked and loaded over on over on Kevin Durant points, 28.5, over 9 rebounds for Andre Drummond, over 5 assists for Marcus Smart, $100 power play. If it hits, $200 going to somebody random on the Twitters. You have to follow Odd Shopper. You got to follow Ehrenberg DFS. You have to follow Eric Lindquist on the Twitters. We'll see you there.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for us. Thank you very much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Keep on alert for any news. There's going to be more players that probably get rolled out today, weird starting lineups. Check out all of that. We love you guys very much. Good luck today. We'll see you tomorrow.